You have been very generous. However, the finance minister has not been at all generous. Zero has been given to Bengal in the budget, and zero has been given to battle the floods of Malda. So here I am in Parliament speaking for the people of Malda Uttar and Malda Dakshin on behalf of the Trinamool Congress. Sir, every year during the monsoons, Malda, where I hail from, is devastated by major floods and erosions by the river of Ganga, Mahananda, Fulahar and Tangun. But this year it is more alarming as over the course of time, the rivers have changed its direction and the distance between the two major rivers, Ganga and Fulahar, has come down to only 700 meters, which was earlier almost 8 kilometers apart. If these rivers merge, there will be a huge disaster causing colossal damage. Huge areas of lands will be engulfed by the rivers. People will lose their lands, mango orchards, farming fields, and the situation will render lakhs of people homeless. Especially affected are the blocks of Kaliachok 3, Kaliachok 2, Manik Chowk, Rotua 1, where the Ganga flows, and Horishchandapur 2, Chanchol 2, where the Fulahar flows. So since this issue comes under the purview of the central government, our Honorable Chief Minister, Ms. Mamta Banerjee, has several times asked...
सभी पहली बार चुन के आए माननीय सदस्यों को सप्लीमेंट्री दी जा रही है. श्री वाई गद्दम.
Thank you, sir, for this opportunity. I come from Peddapalli, Telangana, where we have 15 lakh voters, out of which 5 lakh voters belong to the Singareni workforce, sir. As you all know, PSUs ensure employment and benefits continue to the larger workforce of our country. I request Honorable Kishan Reddy Garu not to privatize Singareni coal mines and to ensure direct allotment to Singareni, because Singareni itself is under great difficulty. We have around 30,000 crores of receivable spending, sir. If allotment is done directly to Singareni.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है. आज ही जाइए पैसाबाजार.com पर और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत किसी को भी कभी भी पड़ सकती है.
चल एक्टिंग थोड़ा भेल बनो.
पैसाबाजार.com.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने ये देश के विकास
Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
बहुत ही performance सही सारे दिए बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India, one world hygiene.
Welcome back. It is the opposition MPs who've staged a walkout as far as the parliament session in the Rajya Sabha is concerned. Is Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, who was hitting back at the opposition in the parliament over allegations that the budget was discriminatory. She has gone on to say can't name every state in the budget. You know, what is really being raised is that there are only 2 states that were mentioned in the budget, Bihar and Andhra Pradesh. We have Vasudha joining us. Vasudha, take us through Nirmala Sitharaman, who was trying to respond to those allegations, but it was the opposition MPs who wouldn't even listen and they staged a walkout.
Absolutely, Divya. A fiery start to the parliament just a day after Nirmala Sitharaman presented a historic 7th consecutive budget, making her the only finance minister in the country to do that. But of course, the opposition is not happy, and the opposition has a lot of grievances, which it already aired as part of a protest that started, when the parliament session was about to begin. In fact, in the Rajya Sabha, the politics of this really played out because Mallikarjun Kharge, the leader of opposition, and also Congress MP, said that, all other states except 2 have been completely ignored in the budget that was presented yesterday. To this, Nirmala Sitharaman, and she sounded very angry. She said that the Congress party has presented many budgets. It has ruled the country for several years, and Mr. Kharge should know, and the Congress party should know, that it is not possible to mention the name of every state in the budget. She, in fact, really took a targeted, attack at the TMC MPs who were also protesting there. Also, like you said, they all walked out when, she was speaking. She basically targeted the TMC MPs also for their attack, and she said that West Bengal has no right to complain about lack of attention to the state, because West Bengal has not any time implemented the central schemes that were sort of announced by the state government. This is in the context of TMC government denying to implement something like the Kisan Samman Nidhi. In fact, it was the last state to adopt that, and of course Ayushman Bharat. Apart from that, Nirmala Sitharaman also responded to the Shiv Sena UBT MPs who were saying that the Sarkar is Maharashtra Virodhi because there's nothing in Maharashtra for it. Now, this is a very critical political question because Maharashtra elections are going to come up, and that state is going to be very crucial, not just for the BJP but also for the opposition. So Nirmala Sitharaman specifically said that there are projects that the centre has initiated in Maharashtra, including a 76,000 crore port that was built in Maharashtra to increase connectivity. So clearly, Nirmala Sitharaman putting on a defense of the government. P. Chidambaram is expected to speak at 2 p.m. He's going to be the first speaker from the Congress side. In Lok Sabha, we can see Shailja Kumari and Praniti and all these, Praniti Shinde and a couple of other MPs speaking. BJP has also lined up a set of aggressive speakers, including from its allies. It has already had a meeting of, the top speakers. And Kiran Rijiju, the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, also in fact said that in the all-party meeting, all floor leaders had agreed that the Parliament will run smoothly, but in fact that is something that has been disrupted on the second day of the Parliament itself, in fact the third day of the Parliament itself.
Right, Vasudha, when we talk about, she has gone on to say, Nirmala Sitharaman in her defense has gone on to say this is a deliberate attempt of the opposition parties led by the Congress party to give an impression that nothing really is being given to their states. She has obviously said that, in previous budgets was every state ever mentioned, and that the fact that there have been schemes that have been given, whether it's to Bengal, whether, like you mentioned, to Maharashtra, that port that's been made, and, the money that's been allocated. So it is the members, but they wouldn't have it. They wouldn't even listen, and they just left without listening to her response.
Absolutely, they walked out even as she started speaking, and she was in a very angry mood. Now, remember, Divya, that there was also a protest at the Parliament entrance in the morning where all opposition MPs collected, and they, opposed the budget, calling it a political budget. They said that this was a budget that basically juggled, between JDU and TDP, pleasing both of them. It was a budget of political compulsions. Now, this is something that, of course, the government disagrees with. But, of course, if you look at, the fine print, there is about, 26,000 crore that has been allotted to Bihar, and of course around 15,000 crore that has been allotted to Andhra Pradesh. The opposition is also having a dual strategy here, because they're also telling people in Andhra Pradesh that these are just announcements and there's nothing, on paper. But, on the other hand, they're also saying that every political announcement in the budget has gone to only 2 states, because they decided to side with the BJP, calling it a completely, a political budget. But Ashwini Vaishnav, the railway minister, also spoke about this today, and he said that the capex, the capital expenditure target, is unchanged at 11.11 lakh crore, which means that there is going to be a lot of infrastructure built across the country in which all states are going to benefit. So it would be really unfair to say that this budget is aimed at only fulfilling the interests of the NDA parties, and the non-NDA states have been completely ignored.
Right, Vasa, you did mention that the former finance minister will be speaking at 2 o'clock. P. Chidambaram also spoke with NDTV, and he has challenged the job creation claims that the government is making in this budget, and also criticizing the government's dismissal of inflation concerns. Right, so we will have Vasudha back with us just in a moment. For the time being, we're just slipping into a very short break. Back with a whole lot more.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं, ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक करें फ्री में पैसाबाजार.com पर। लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
ठीक से एक्टिंग नहीं।
पैसाबाजार.com।
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने ये देश के विकास
unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number 1 in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After a great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
बहुत ही performance सही सारे दी थे बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Breaking news coming in from Nepal, where a plane has crashed, a tragedy that's taken place at the Kathmandu International Airport. This is a flight that was taking off from the Kathmandu International Airport that has crashed. It is the airlines is Saurya Airlines plane that has crashed at the international airport in Kathmandu. The crash occurred while the flight was trying to take off for Pokhara. From Kathmandu, the plane was carrying technical staff of 19 people, including the pilots. There were no passengers on board. Firefighters and security personnel are currently trying to control the situation as smoke continues to billow out of that plane that has crashed. This was soon as it was trying to take off for Pokhara from the Kathmandu airport. This is a plane that has crashed. It was headed to Pokhara in Nepal. 19 people were on board. These were, the technical staff. No passengers were on board that Saurya flight. This plane that crashed during a takeoff that was taking place in Nepal. And just a minute, so while it was trying to take off is when the plane crashed. The plane was only carrying technical staff. There were 19 people on board that flight, Saurya Airlines, which was taking off for Pokhara from Kathmandu. There were no passengers on board is what we are hearing. As you can see visuals on your screen of smoke coming out of that flight. Firefighters and security personnel are currently trying to control the situation. So breaking news coming in of the Saurya Airlines aircraft that crashed during takeoff at the Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu in Nepal. 19 people, including the crew, were on board that Pokhara-bound flight, which met with an accident. The accident has taken place at about 11 o'clock in the morning local time, and the cause of the accident is yet not known. So the plane was trying to take off. It had technical staff on board. In all, there were 19 people on that flight, which included the airline crew, which basically was the pilot and the crew members, and also the technical staff of the Saurya Airlines, which were on that flight, which was meant for takeoff to Pokhara, but crashed. This is a flight that was to take off from Kathmandu, but crashed at the international airport itself. We have my colleague Ghazali joining us. Ghazali, what details do you have for us of this Saurya Airlines flight, which was to take off for Pokhara, but crashed at the Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu at about 11 o'clock this morning?
The plane has crashed near Tribhuvan Airport, and after the accident, the rescue operation is going on. The plane was having 19 passengers in it. Initially, it has been suggested that they are the technical team only and not the passengers per se. But there were 19 people on board when it crashed near the Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu. And the reports are suggesting, the initial reports which are coming in suggest that the aircraft is skidded off the runway during takeoff, resulting in this accident. As of now, the rescue operation is going on, and the preliminary information suggests that firefighters have also recovered the bodies of 4 people. So it's a tragic incident, and right now the rescue operation is going on near the airport.
Right, Ghazali, very tragic accident that's taken place at the airport itself, very close to the Tribhuvan International Airport of Kathmandu. Like Ghazali is reporting, 4 bodies have been recovered of the 19 people that were on board that flight. As you can see visuals on your screen of smoke coming out of that flight. Ghazali, any information regarding the rescue operations? 4 bodies have come out. What about the fire? Is that under control now?
So the firefighters have reached the spot. They are trying to control the fire, and simultaneously the rescue operation also includes the retrieving of bodies. Since the Tribhuvan International Airport, its spokesperson said that there were 19 people on board. They were all the technical staff and not the passengers. So out of those 19, around 4 bodies have been recovered. An official confirmation is awaited where all 19 have died or anybody is the survivor as well. So once the bodies are recovered, once the official confirmation comes in, as of now only 4 bodies have been recovered. The rest 15 will be recovered once the rescue operation finishes. It has just started. The firefighters have just reached the spot at the airport, at the Tribhuvan International Airport. The reason of the accident as of now suggests perhaps that the aircraft is skidded at the airport, which led to this accident.
Ghazali, how soon after, I mean, it would have been perhaps just minutes while it was trying to take off, is when this tragedy struck?
the Tribhuvan International Airport spokesperson said that within minutes of takeoff, this incident happened because that is when it skidded off the runway, and it took no more time before it was trying to take off that it met with an accident there.
Right, so of course we don't know details. These are just preliminary reports that are now coming out. From what we hear so far, from what we know is that 4 bodies have been recovered from this accident that's taken place in Kathmandu. 4 lives have been lost. There were 19 people on board. Ghazali, from initial reports that are coming out, is that it was technical staff along with the crew of the airlines which was on board that aircraft.
Yes, there were no passengers on board, but the plane was only carrying few technical staff, and smoke was seen coming from the plane, and firefighters and security personnel are trying to control the situation right now. This plane was flying from Pokhara from Kathmandu airport, and that is when this incident happened. As of now, the complete details or the reason for the accident is not known yet. The officials who are present at the airport, they are just saying that perhaps the reason for this accident was because it is skidded off the runway. More details will only emerge once the rescue operation is over, the bodies are recovered, and then perhaps the technical staff, those who will probe it, will find out that what was the exact reason for this accident.
Right, of course, very tragic news coming out of Nepal, a tragedy that struck early this morning as this plane that was trying to take off for Pokhara from Kathmandu, which crashed during takeoff. And from what we are hearing, as far as preliminary reports are concerned, that perhaps the plane could have skidded off the runway, which caused the death of 4 people. 4 bodies so far have been recovered. Do remember these visuals. The smoke is still coming out of that plane. So rescue operations carrying on while they're trying to douse that fire, trying to bring that fire under control. We have Ghazali, my colleague, joining us. Ghazali, a very difficult situation at hand for the rescue personnel and the firefighters, because while the smoke continues, while the fire continues, they're trying to get the bodies and the people on board out of that flight.
Yes, it is a difficult situation for the rescue team right now because they have to extinguish the fire, control the fire, as well as retrieve the bodies from inside the plane or the crash plane from the crash site at the airport. And that is how perhaps the officials are saying that it will take some time before the rescue operation gets over, and then this entire details of the incident of why this crash happened, the reason of the crash or the reason of the accident can be ascertained. This plane was moving from Kathmandu to Pokhara, or Pokhara as it is called. It's a tourist destination where this plane was moving, but it was not carrying passengers as such. They were not tourists or something, but they were the technical crew members. And that is when, minutes after taking off, it crashed in the air. And the reason, as of now, the technical staff says that it may be because the plane is skidded off the runway, and that is when it caught fire while it was taking off mid-air.
Right, this Saurya Airlines plane that has crashed. Ghazali, any reports considering that this might have been a short distance flight? Was it a small plane to begin with? Was this a regular plane, considering that it perhaps just had the technical staff and the crew of the airlines?
This particular airlines was moving from Kathmandu, and the exact reason is not known yet, but the skidding of the runway could be one reason for the crash, and the aircraft burst into flames immediately after the crash. So right now, the most challenging part of the rescue operation will be to identify the bodies, to rescue the bodies, and sort of retrieve all the 19 passengers, including the pilot as well. So that is why right now the exact information, the accurate reason for the crash is not yet shared by the officials there. But the Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu, the officials are at the spot. The rescue team is at the spot. They're trying to control the fire. The firefighters are also engaged in this operation to control the fire and also trying to locate the bodies as well.
Right. Of course, this also brings to mind the deadly, plane crash that took place just last year on the 15th of January, which was being termed as the country's deadliest plane crash in 30 years, in which 72 people, including 2 infants, had lost their lives. And the reason for that crash, or what was assumed, is that it could have been caused by the pilots mistakenly cutting power, is what was said at the time. That was a report that was provided by the government-appointed investigators, who said that it could have been the result of its pilots mistakenly cutting the power. So this is, of course, bringing to mind that crash that took place, which resulted in the death of 72 people. This is breaking news coming in at the moment of this plane crash that has taken place at the Kathmandu, very close to the Kathmandu airport. This was when the plane was trying to take off. It perhaps skidded off the runway. This had 19 people on board, including the technical staff and the crew of the airlines. This has taken place. 4 bodies so far have been taken out of the plane. The smoke and fire continues as far as this Saurya airline flight is concerned, very close to the runway. A plane that has skidded off very close to the Tribhuvan International Airport of Kathmandu. A flight that was supposed to take off for Pokhara has crashed, and rescue operations are on. Firefighters and security personnel, they're trying to rescue those on board. So far, 4 bodies have been recovered from the crash site. Five people have died in that tragedy. There were 19 people on board. 5 bodies have been recovered so far. That's the latest that we have for you. We'll get you the very latest on the other side of this tragedy that's taken place in Kathmandu, with 19 people on board a flight that has crashed.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
A stormy session as far as the Parliament is concerned, with the opposition there walking off from the Rajya Sabha over the budget. And a big move as far as states are concerned after the NEET mess is the Bihar government that will be tabling the anti-paper leak bill. After Tamil Nadu, it's West Bengal's assembly to pass the resolution on NEET. And it is Pooja Khedkar who has now again flouted a government order. No show by Pooja Khedkar at the IAS Academy. She has failed to meet the deadline to report at the training academy. 2 encounters have taken place in a matter of 24 hours in Jammu and Kashmir. 1 soldier has been killed, another has been injured.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं, ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही पैसाबाजार.com पर जाइए और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है। बस एक्टिंग करा लो इनसे। पैसाबाजार.com, क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक, आदत अच्छी है।
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने ये देश के विकास
Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the topmost news platform in the country. Number 1 in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
वो performance सही सारा नहीं थे बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello, Moto.
A tragedy has occurred at the Kathmandu International Airport, a plane that's crashed during a takeoff. This is the Saurya Airlines flight that crashed during takeoff from Kathmandu to Pokhara. That flight was to take off to Pokhara but has crashed. 5 bodies have been found so far. There were 19 people in all on board that plane that was headed to Pokhara. Heated face-off in Parliament over the budget with the opposition. They're walking out and not even listening to the response of the finance minister. It's the opposition claiming that other states were ignored and therefore they walked out. The finance minister has called the charges outrageous and says that the opposition must read the budget. And a big move after the NEET mess. It is the Bihar government that will be tabling the anti-paper leak bill today. And after Tamil Nadu is West Bengal's assembly to pass the resolution as far as NEET is concerned. And Pooja Khedkar has flouted the government order yet again. No show by the IAS trainee. This is Pooja Khedkar failing to meet with the deadline to report at the IAS Training Academy. 2 encounters in a matter of 24 hours in Jammu and Kashmir. 1 soldier has been killed, another has been wounded. Breaking news coming in regarding a crash that's taken place at the Kathmandu International Airport. This was during a takeoff of a Saurya airline flight which had 19 people on board. So far what we know is 5 bodies have been recovered from the crash site. There were 19 people on board including the technical staff as well as the crew of the airlines. This flight was to take off for Pokhara, but during takeoff is when this crash that took place. This was an accident that's happened right at the Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu. A flight that was to take off for Pokhara but crashed with 19 people on board that Saurya airline flight. We have Vishnu joining us to get us more on this. Vishnu, we are seeing visuals on our screen of smoke billowing from this flight, and of course it's very difficult as far as rescue operations are concerned, given the fact that the fire continues to rage on, smoke continues to come out of the plane, and at the same time the rescue teams are trying to recover people on board that flight, and so far 5 bodies have been recovered.
Right. So this is a CRJ-200 aircraft. This is the Saurya aircraft. This is one of the local airlines in Kathmandu. The incident took place shortly after 11 a.m. in the morning. The aircraft crashed while taking off from Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu. It was on a flight to Pokhara. Several bodies are now being recovered. The total number of people, as you mentioned, on board is 19. I should mention a couple of points about Nepal, its air safety record, and also Tribhuvan International Airport. Firstly, Tribhuvan International Airport is a tabletop type airport. In other words, it is somewhat elevated compared to the terrain around. It is surrounded by valleys on all sides. It has historically seen several crashes which have taken place. And as far as air travel in Nepal itself is concerned, there have been numerous crashes which have taken place over the last couple of years. Just in terms of recent crashes, in 2023, on the 15th of January, 72 people were killed in Pokhara on a Yeti aircraft. 22 people lost their lives in May 2022 on a Tara Air flight. 2017, there was a crash in Lukla. There were 23 people who died in 2016 in another Tara Air crash. This was Soria Air, of course. And these were just fixed-wing aircraft. But in terms of helicopter accidents, the accident rate is, no better. Last year, in July last year, 6 people were killed in a crash in Solukhumbu. 7 people were killed in 2019, and I can go on and on with the list. And these are just Nepalese air operators. There have been foreign airlines as well, which have crashed over here. So Nepal has among the worst air safety records anywhere, and it's very unfortunate what has taken place over here. Obviously, we won't get into any speculation, but all we do know at this stage is that the CRJ-200, which is a jet aircraft, it's got 2 engines in the back. It's the Canada Regional Jet and the CRJ family of aircraft is extremely reliable. It's a workhorse around the world. This aircraft evidently didn't gain height. It skidded off the runway on takeoff. It fell down an embankment. It caught fire, and those are the images that you can see.
Right, Vishnu, given the fact that it perhaps was a short distance flight, was this a small plane?
Sorry, was this a?
I said, given that perhaps was a short distance flight, was it a small plane that was carrying 19 people on board?
Yeah, that's right. The CRJ-200 is a small aircraft. I don't, off the top of my head, recall the number of passengers it could carry, but I think it's less than 50 seats. It is a jet aircraft, unlike many other aircraft operated in Nepal in those terrains. But it is a short flight, a flight of less than an hour. And unfortunately, this incident has taken place. It skidded off the runway, was unable to gain altitude. It went down the embankment, and it's in flames. And as you mentioned, a couple of bodies have been recovered. But this is the latest in a string of air crashes involving both fixed-wing aircraft, such as this one, and helicopters in the country of Nepal.
Right, Vishnu, what we're hearing is that this was an airline's domestic carrier which had only a couple of planes, and all of them with a capacity of just 50 passengers per plane. We have Ghazali joining us. Ghazali, what's the latest that you're hearing? From what we know so far is 5 bodies have been recovered.
Were on board, as Vishnu just mentioned, and around 5 bodies have been recovered. The firefighters have reached the airport crash site. The plane just took off. The crash happened at around 11 a.m. midday. The exact reason or the fault why this incident happened or why the plane crashed midair has not been ascertained yet. Once the rescue operation will get over, once all the bodies will be retrieved, and then the technical team will find out the exact reason of the crash there.
Right, so of course we don't know what really caused this accident, what caused this crash as far as the airlines is concerned. Ghazali, from what we are hearing from reports coming in at the moment is that there weren't too many flights of this particular airline. This was just a domestic carrier.
Yeah, this was Surya Airlines, which was going from Kathmandu to Pokhara. Pokhara is a tourist destination, and thankfully there were not many passengers in the plane. There was crew members as well as the technical staff which was going from Kathmandu to Pokhara through this plane. And immediately after taking off, the initial preliminary reports or the eyewitnesses accounts suggest that perhaps the plane skidded off the runway, and that is when it took off. It caught fire, and within minutes of catching fire, the plane crashed midair. Why this plane was going towards Pokhara, what was the exact reason, and why it crashed midair, why it caught the fire, the reasons are not known. The priority right now is to retrieve the bodies of all those 19 who were on board, right, and also the safety of those, and perhaps the reason to know whether there are any survivors or all on board are dead in this crash is yet to be shared by the official spokesperson of the Kathmandu.
Right, Ghazali, we also have with us Captain S.S. Panesar, aviation and flight safety expert, joining us on the phone line. You know, from visuals on our screen, we're seeing this deadly crash that's taken place in Kathmandu, a flight that was bound for Pokhara. What is the reason that we're seeing so many crashes, especially around the Kathmandu airport, or flights that are taking off from Kathmandu? We will just have him back with us. We have Prerna Thakur, the manager of the airport in Kathmandu, joining us. Sir, thank you so much for speaking to us here on NDTV. What information do you have for us regarding what really caused this crash, and what about the people on board? So we have Captain S.S. Panesar, aviation and flight safety expert, joining us. Sir, thank you for speaking to us. You know, what is the reason that we are seeing so many crashes being reported out of Nepal in the last 10 to 15 years, especially in regard to Kathmandu as an airport? You know, it really does bring to mind what happened last year on the 15th of January when 72 lives were lost, you know, in that very area.
And I do not know whether it's any technical fault with the engine. That, of course, the investigation will come out. But in the past, if you see the history of crashes in Nepal, there are many crashes. And according to my opinion, which we have seen, most of the crashes are the overconfidence. The pilots have to study the weather reports very carefully. Because the hilly region, the winds updraft and downdrafts are very fast, and they change very fast. You're going towards the hill, there may be a downdraft of hill, and they're very strong when they push the aircraft down. You might even full power on the engine, yet the aircraft cannot climb. So the pilots have to take caution by watching the meteorological charts and seeing the weather position, how the winds are flown over the area. Then only they can conduct a safe flight. Of course, the investigation will tell if there was any technical fault with the engines or the aircraft, which I don't know. Then the digital flight data recorder will come out. It's a very sad thing. The pilots have to take precaution.
Staff was on board that airlines, which perhaps had the capacity of only 50 people. 19 people were on board, including the crew of the airlines. This is a very small flight that was taking off for Pokhara. Pokhara is the area where 72 people died last year in that crash that took place on the 15th of January. The 72 people included children as well that lost their lives in that incident. The deadliest crash that you know, reported out of Nepal in the last 30 years or so. Sir, take us through what's you know, what's really causing these crashes when it comes to Nepal, as far as the safety and the precautions that you know, one needs to take during you know, say weather which is not very conducive.
Yes, the pilots have to take a very, very careful observation of the flights. They have to be sure of the weather in the valley, because in the valley the weather changes very fast.
Right. Right, of course, sir. So, of course, we are seeing visuals on our screen of smoke and fire coming out of that plane. 19 people were on board that plane. So far, from what we are hearing, is 5 bodies have been recovered, 5 lives have been lost due to that crash. It had technical staff as well as the airline crew on board that flight. There were 19 people on that very small flight which was taking off from the Kathmandu airport. That flight was supposed to reach Pokhara, a very short distance flight, but it could, while takeoff, it crashed, and it's very close to the Tribhuvan International Airport of Kathmandu, where we can see visuals of that plane crash in Kathmandu. So we have Ghazali with us. Ghazali, this plane crash that we are seeing, especially particularly when it comes to Nepal, why are we seeing so many crashes? And of course, this is the season, you know, it's a rainy season. Weather plays a very crucial role.
Yes, on an average, every year Nepal reports one plane crash, and now the reason being perhaps due to the poor infrastructure. But we can't speculate the exact reason, but certainly for the fact we know that every few months, on an average in a year, a plane crash is reported in Nepal. And there are many incidents, as Vishnu was also reporting, that how every year we get to hear about plane crash and passengers losing their life in Nepal after taking off, or the flights developing technical snags leading to the crash. But in this particular incident, the latest update is that the pilot has been recovered and he has been sent to the hospital. His medical condition is not known, neither the medical condition of other on-board passengers or say the crew members as well as the technical staff is not known. 5 bodies have been recovered. The fate of the rest of the 14 is not known yet. The only good information or good news coming out of that sad plane crash news is that the pilot's body has been recovered and he has been sent to the hospital for treatment, but his medical condition is not known yet.
Right, of course, we don't know the reason behind this crash that's taken place, a crash at the Tribhuvan International Airport while this flight, Saurya Airlines aircraft that was trying to take off for Pokhara, very short distance flight, like Vishnu was mentioning, that it would barely take not even an hour to reach Pokhara from Kathmandu. The crash occurred while the flight was taking off for Pokhara from the international airport in Kathmandu. The flight only had technical staff of the airlines. There were no passengers on board, and firefighters and security personnel are currently trying to control the situation. They're trying to douse the fire while they're trying to rescue people on board. And as we really don't know how many survivors are there on the flight, what we do know so far is that there were 19 people on board that flight, of which 5 bodies have so far been recovered. And in the last 10 to 15 years, Nepal has witnessed at least 12 fatal plane crashes. And of course, it does bring to mind that fatal crash, the deadliest in the last 30 years, is what took place on the 15th of January last year, in which a Yeti Airlines flight crashed, which resulted in the death of 72 people, including children. 72 lives were lost in that plane crash that took place. This is coming on the heels of just that crash that took place last year in January. And here visuals on your screen of a flight that was taking off for Pokhara from Kathmandu crashed just off the runway while it was trying to take off. So this is very close to the international airport in Kathmandu, the Tribhuvan International Airport. So visuals on your screen of that flight where smoke and fire continues to rage on. Ghazali, what have they managed to control the fire to some extent, because they are trying to drag bodies out of that plane? So there must be a certain part that they might, they have managed to access.
Yeah, as of now, the reports coming in confirm that the firefighter team has controlled the fire. The fire has been put off. Now the only challenge is to retrieve the body, for which the other team, along with the rescue operation, which are engaged in the rescue operation, are trying to get the bodies out from that crash site. So the fire has been controlled. The fire has been put off by the firefighters, and now the only challenge is to get the bodies out. The pilot has been sent to the hospital. He has been admitted in the hospital. That's one confirmed news coming in from the crash site in Kathmandu. The pilot is perhaps alive, but his medical condition has not been shared by the official sources from the Kathmandu International Airport. Right now, what we are picking up is that in the recent years, as you were asking, that why Nepal has seen so many air crashes, flight crashes there, their air industry has boomed in recent years, carrying goods and people between hard-to-reach areas, as well as foreign trekkers and climbers. But perhaps the poor safety measures is one of the reasons why we have seen these flight crashes or even flight catching fire midway after taking off, as in this particular case. So this could be one particular reason that why there are frequent flight crashes there in Nepal, perhaps due to the poor safety measures. But in this particular case, as to why this incident has happened, why did it catch fire while taking off, will be known after the entire rescue operation gets over and the technical team or the international the officials of the Kathmandu International Airport share the details of the reason behind this midway explosion, or say the flight catching fire after taking off in the air.
At least 5 people have died in that crash that's taken place on board that Saurya Airlines in Kathmandu. A flight that was taking off for Pokhara has crashed while taking off. So visuals on your screen of that flight, that crash very, very close to the runway. So this is very close to the Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu. And from what Ghazali is telling us is that they managed to douse the fire. Rescue operations are on in order to retrieve those on board that flight, which included the technical staff and the pilot, the crew of the airlines. It's a very small airline, which perhaps had a capacity of only 50 people. Not many flights as far as this fleet is concerned. They probably had just a couple of flights, a couple of aircrafts, and this was a domestic carrier that was meant to take its staff to Pokhara. But this crash that took place at about 11 o'clock this morning at the Kathmandu International Airport. We have Ghazali with us. Ghazali, is it the terrain? Is it the weather? Is it a combined, is it a combination of the two that is the reason? Or is it that they have too many, short distance flights, and which is why probably they're small planes which are perhaps unsafe?
See, we can't speculate about the reason as to what could be the reason, but going by the track record of the flight crashes there or flight accidents, air accidents there in Nepal, we can certainly say that it has to do something with the safety measures, because in the previous incidents, on an average, records suggest that every year Nepal reports one flight incident or say an accident at the airport concerning the airways or the flights. So this could be one possible reason. And European Union, Europe has also banned certain Nepalese carriers or air carriers to move into their country. So this has certainly to do with the safety measures. We can't say the infrastructure is not well, because Nepal has also managed to be to penetrating the air markets and getting and reaching to some far-flung areas, carrying cargo as well as passengers. So when it comes to the quality of the aircraft or say the flight safety, that is something which looks not up to the standard, leading to such accidents. Yet again mentioning that perhaps this particular incident or accident, the reason is not known yet, that why did it catch fire and when did it catch fire, immediately after taking off or perhaps with the impact. When it was taking off, it had already caught fire and was noticed only when it went mid-air. So the exact reason is not known yet. What we know so far is that the pilot has been sent to the hospital, 5 dead bodies have been recovered. Pilot's medical condition is not known. Neither the rest of the 14 crew members or the passengers on board are not known yet. What we also know is that out of the 19, these were the technical staff as well as a crew member who were going from Kathmandu to Pokhara. Pokhara is a tourist town, as we are being told from the local sources there, and it was a short distance flight, as Vishnu also mentioned. But as of now, the good news is that the fire has been controlled, but there are no updates on the condition of the rest of the 14 on-board crew members as well as the technical staff.
Right, so the weather and the terrain is, one of the reasons that we're seeing so many tragedies being reported out of Nepal. It also, Ghazali, take us through the kind of aircrafts that are used. They could be very small planes, perhaps doing many rounds, considering the fact that this airlines did not have too many aircrafts.
Yes, this was a short distance, say the flight was to cover a very short distance of less than an hour from Kathmandu to Pokhara, and perhaps these are the small flights or small capacity, sitting capacity flights which are operating from the Kathmandu International Airport. Beyond that what could be the reason, or whether it is it was a small distance flight and that is why a short duration flight, that why it caught fire, can't be said as of now, no speculations as of now. But the airport safety or say the flight safety is certainly one thing which is concerning in Nepal, going by its track record of accidents every year. And Vishnu also mentioned a number of accidents which have been reported in the last 12 months from Nepal, and some of them had a similar nature of occurrence, or the occurrence or the reason of the accident were of similar nature, that flights was carrying fire mid-air or while taking off or while landing at the airport. So as far as the quality is concerned, the Nepal's aircrafts have been sort of carrying passengers and cargo as well to far-flung areas in the world. So it certainly has to do with the flight safety and the safety measures at the airport, which perhaps could have led to this accident.
Right, high terrains are difficult, of course, and to top that, of course, also when it comes to the facilities and the equipment, when we talk about the planes in Nepal, considering they're not very new, Ghazali, as from what reports are suggesting, and which is why we've seen an increase in the plane crashes that are being reported. And let's just get you an update here that from what is being reported is at least 68 plane crashes have been reported since 1955. 44 of those crashes have been deadly, and this does not include this plane crash that has taken place in Kathmandu. It has taken place just very close to the runway at the international airport. There you can see visuals of that plane just about taking off and then crashing very, very close to the runway. We have visuals coming, playing out on our screens right now of that flight just about taking off, just a few meters, hadn't really taken off properly, and then crashes just very, very close to the runway.
Yeah, so it's too early to say what exactly went wrong over there. I can tell you that the aircraft was a CRJ-200 aircraft. This is a Canada regional jet aircraft. It's a family of aircraft used around the world. It's a 50-seater aircraft. It's a twin-engine jet aircraft. It was on a flight between Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu and Pokhara. As we've been discussing earlier on, this airport and indeed Nepal has an appalling safety record when it comes to flight safety. Just a cursory look at their air safety record indicates a number of crashes virtually every year, whether it's helicopters or fixed-wing aircraft like this across the country. However, at this juncture, there are too many factors to actually get into to look into what may have caused that crash. Nepal, I should suggest, has a fairly quick system of investigating its own air accidents, and they do quite transparently come out with these air safety reports which talk about what may have resulted in a crash. In this particular case, we do not know. As you mentioned, the aircraft appears to have climbed just a little bit before it plummeted down. I can tell you that this particular airport is a tabletop airport. Landing on this airport is difficult. This, of course, was a different situation. It was taking off. For whatever the reasons were, perhaps the aircraft didn't generate enough thrust on its engines. Perhaps the flap settings were wrong. Perhaps there was a pilot error. Perhaps there was a mechanical error. The digital flight data recorder, which this aircraft is equipped with, and given the fact that the wreckage is so close to the periphery of the runway, that should be recovered. And the last moments of the crash, not just the audio of the pilots, but also the data from the aircraft itself and various systems on board should be available to investigators, hopefully, to sort of figure out what went wrong.
Vishnu, given the terrain and the unpredictable weather, especially during the monsoon season, are there just some specific kind of planes that are allowed in this region?
Airport wide-body, commercial aircraft, including Airbus A330s, are used. I believe 777 flights have also taken place. So it's not really about the airport in this particular case. It is about the circumstances of the crash, which we don't really know anything about. This was on its takeoff run. The CRJ is it's an excellent aircraft around the world. It's used very, very commonly. But what exactly happened, I realize everybody wants to know, but frankly, at this stage, it could take days, weeks, perhaps even months for air safety experts to come to some sort of conclusion. But yes, in other parts of Nepal, there are a lot of destinations served only by helicopter. There are other destinations where small propeller-driven turboprop aircraft operate. We've seen crashes of different types of aircraft in Nepal for all sorts of reasons. Mechanical error, pilot error on several occasions, including a horrific one last year in which 70-plus people lost their lives when a pilot accidentally effectively shut down the engine with the aircraft stalling and then crashing on a flight to Pokhara. In fact, this aircraft was on its way to Pokhara today.
Vishnu, is this one of the planes that needs a shorter takeoff and landing airfield?
It has a very robust short takeoff and landing performance. But in this particular case, Tribhuvan International Airport has a long runway, which, as I mentioned, can cater for wide-body commercial aircraft, including the Airbus A330. That is in use by Royal Nepal Airlines as well. So it's not the length of the runway in this case which would be a factor. It would be other reasons, including as I mentioned, a variety of reasons which investigators would be looking at. Let me repeat some of those reasons. Possibly a pilot error, mechanical defect, an engine defect, or some strange weather phenomena which prevented the aircraft from actually gaining altitude. But that seems quite unlikely because it's not as if the CRJ-200 is an underpowered aircraft. Not at all.
Right. Vishnu, they're explaining to us that the kind of airlines this was, the kind of aircraft this was that has crashed at the international airport just minutes after it was trying to take off. So it was a very, it was extremely soon after takeoff when 19 people on board that flight, a flight that has crashed at the international airport of Kathmandu, a flight that was to take off for Pokhara. We have Ghazali with us. Ghazali, take us through, it is the monsoon season. What were the weather conditions like? Any report on visibility levels? Also, in regard to this plane, if you could explain to us, and also definitely also any update as far as those on board are concerned. We do know that 5 people so far have lost their lives.
Yeah, as far as the status of those who were on board, what we can pick up right now is that 18 bodies have been recovered. Out of the 19 were on board. The pilot has been rushed to the hospital. He is admitted there. His medical condition is not known. So we can confirm, as per the local reports, we can confirm that out of those 19 who were on board, the body of 18 people have been recovered. The fire has been put off there by the firefighting team. And also the rescue operation is still going on at the site right now. What we know that what could be the exact reason? The exact reason is not known yet. Once this part of the rescue operation gets over, that all the bodies are recovered, like one more body has to be recovered until the Tribhuvan International Airport spokesperson confirms that everybody on board has not survived or none of them have survived in the crash, as well as the reason of that why did the flight catch fire. And perhaps the initial reports, or say what the eyewitness team or the technical team at the airport suggests, that perhaps due to the impact of taking off, the plane caught fire, which was only visible or noticed once it was mid-air, and it crashed minutes after taking off from the Kathmandu International Airport for Pokhara. And we don't know yet that the weather condition, as per the official spokesperson and as per the local reports, was quite normal. So the exact reason is still not known, that what would be the reason behind this accident. Once the pilot also recovers from his injury, because his medical condition is also not known, but we are being told that he has been rushed to the hospital for now, and his body was recovered minutes after the firefighting team and the rescue team reached the airport.
Right. Ghazali, from what is being reported is most of these crashes that have been reported from Nepal have often been due to poor visibility, and that is most often when the aircraft have hit a mountain. But in this case, this was just at the time of takeoff. Visibility perhaps was not an issue, given the fact that it was while they were trying to take off, but they have crash landed right there off the runway itself.
See, barring this particular incident, what the track record suggests is that the airlines over there in Nepal has been plagued by poor safety due to insufficient training and maintenance. So flight safety is certainly an issue, but whether that was the reason why this accident took place, we can't speculate on that until the official reason is shared by the Tribhuvan International Airport officials, that what was the possible reason there. As far as the flight safety and the quality is concerned, we know that the European Union has banned the Nepal carriers moving into their country. So certainly flight safety or the safety standard is one issue which Nepal has been struggling with for the last couple of years. And on an average, if you see the track record of the air crashes or the incidents of air crashes which has taken place in Nepal, it's on an average one air crash or the plane crash or the plane accident, let's say on a broader term, has been reported from Nepal every year. So perhaps in this particular incident, whether the weather was an issue, whether the visibility was an issue, or perhaps it was the impact of taking off, which also sort of suggests or hints towards the quality of the aircraft, could be one reason. But once the bodies are recovered and once we hear it from the official sources of the reason behind this accident, then only we can confirm that what was the reason for this particular accident.
Ghazali, traveling by road is not even considered a very safe option when it comes to Nepal. Many accidents, many deadly accidents have been reported as well. So, especially when it comes to the tourist season, for tourists, how does one really travel to Nepal, considering the fact that the local planes are not very safe, and even traveling by road is not very safe?
No, this is a big concern for passengers, not just in Nepal, but for the tourists who come to Nepal from other countries. And it is widely known that for the short distance tourist spots, people generally travel by air from Kathmandu to the nearby spots because it is less time consuming as usual. But it also sort of compromises the safety if such incidents are reported frequently from Nepal. And this is not an isolated incident. We can also quote that in January last year, a tragic incident had taken place when the Yeti Airlines flight crashed near the central city of Pokhara, the same Pokhara where this flight was bound to reach. And all 72 people on board, including passengers and crew members, had lost their lives in the incident. The aircraft in that particular accident plummeted into a steep gorge, breaking into pieces and bursting into flames as it approached Pokhara. So whether that was also due to the flight safety norms, we know that perhaps that is exactly why the European Union has banned all the Nepalese carriers getting into their country. So certainly airport safety, or say the flight safety standards, are not up to the mark. That is why Nepal is struggling with these flight accidents or mid-air crashes or the fire catching incidents or the plane catching fire after taking off or after landing is why the Nepal's carriers are not considered safe in the European Union. And this one particular incident will only give impetus to the logic that traveling over there could not be very, very safe.
Right, Ghazali, you did mention of that plane crash that took place on that Yeti Airlines last year in January, when 72 people lost their lives, including 2 infants. But what the report really suggested by the government-appointed investigators at the time was that it was probably the result of its pilots mistakenly cutting off the power. This is what could have caused that fatal crash in which 72 people died. So, one doesn't really know what is really causing, besides the weather and the terrain. Also, like you mentioned, the flight safety in terms of these small aircrafts that are operating in Nepal to cover very short distance, and of course something that needs to be looked into because this is going to of course have an impact on tourism as well.
Aviation watchers not just blame the quality of the aircrafts there, but they also suggest that perhaps not only just poor safety due to insufficient training could also be one of the reasons. As you mentioned, the Yeti Airlines crash which took place last year in January, where you say that perhaps the pilot turned off the park buttons by mistake, is also attributed to the insufficient training to the pilots there, and poor safety standards, insufficient training. Though what we are picking up is that Nepal's air industry has kind of boomed in the last couple of years with carrying cargo and passengers to those areas, far-flung areas, or which those areas were hard to reach. But still, this is one area of concern for the Nepal's air industry when it comes to frequent accidents being reported from the country in the last 1.5 years.
Right, so of course we are seeing, like you mentioned, so many tragic incidents that are being reported from Nepal in the last since 1955. There have been 44 deadly plane crashes, and that does not include this particular plane crash in which 18 bodies have been recovered so far. So a tragedy that's taken place at the Kathmandu airport where 18 people have lost their lives is the pilot who has been rushed to the hospital. We do not have an update as far as his condition is concerned. Of course, we will get you the very latest in regard to his health update. Ghazali, take us through any update on the people who were on board that flight.
See, the latest what we are picking up right now is that perhaps the Tribhuvan International Airport has been closed till 1 p.m. the Nepal time. 18 bodies have been recovered from the crash site as of now. They're all dead. 19 were on board, besides the pilot who has been rushed to the hospital. His medical condition is not known yet, the status of his medical condition, but perhaps he was alive, that's why he was rushed to the hospital. So once that medical update comes in, as of now we can only say that 18 people have died in this crash. The bodies are being recovered. All the 18 bodies have been recovered, but as per the initial information, there were 19 people on board, including the technical staff and the crew members. Out of those 18 bodies have been recovered. The pilot has been rushed to the hospital for his medical condition, and the international airport, or the Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu, has been closed till 1 p.m. local time. So for the rescue operation to continue, because the fire has been put under control by the firefighters, and that didn't take very much time, but the only time-taking process was to extract the bodies or retrieve the bodies from the crash site. So we will only get to know more from the local authorities, from the international airport officials there in Kathmandu, about the status of the pilot, as well as what could be the possible reason behind this crash.
Right, whether the terrain, whether it is the condition of the plane, given the fact that it was a very small plane to the capacity of perhaps 50 people. Ghazali, take us through, this airlines, this particular airline, Saurya International Airlines, did not have too many flights that were operating under their name. Perhaps just only a couple of aircrafts is what the airlines had.
Yes, this particular airlines doesn't have many aircrafts, or say it doesn't have those long duration or long distance aircrafts operating under its name. So this airlines perhaps operates only short duration flights with less seating capacity, as Vishnu was also mentioning, because this particular flight was also just leaving from Kathmandu to Pokhara, which takes less than an hour for the entire duration of the journey. So this particular airlines doesn't operate too many flights on that route, or perhaps in Kathmandu in Nepal. That is what we have gathered so far, and further updates will come once the International Airlines spokesperson, who have been updating about the condition of the pilot, about the rescue and relief operation there, once they confirm about the status of those people who have been who were on board. Like 18 bodies have been recovered out of the 19 who were on board. So furthermore, the exact reason is what everybody is awaiting to know, that what was the reason for the fire, because initial reports suggest that it's the impact of taking off. Perhaps that the reason for the fire could be the impact for the flight to take off.
Right, Ghazali, we also have Disha Bakshi with us, joining us. Disha, we're seeing, many such plane crashes that are being reported from Nepal. In the last 10-15 years only, 12 fatal plane crashes have been reported, excluding this very one. When we talk about from 1955, 44 deadly plane crashes have been reported out of Nepal.
Right. Nepal has a reputation and a history of various really deadly plane crashes. In fact, it is considered one of the most countries with one of the history of deadly plane crashes. In fact, there have been over 700 plane crash deaths in the last 30 years, and Nepal is in fact ranked 12th out of 207 nations, a very high rank in terms of the number of fatalities that they have in plane crashes. As you mentioned, there have been over, as I mentioned earlier, there have been over 700 plane crash deaths in the last 30 years, and this plane crash, in fact, is quite deadly, given the fact that out of 19 people on board, 18 bodies have so far been recovered, and the airport, the Tribhuvan International Airport, is currently closed till 1 p.m. Nepal time. So, as my colleague Ghazali mentioned, the details of the cause of the the plane crash is yet to be determined. But it is in fact quite a deadly plane crash, and as I mentioned earlier, Nepal has a reputation of being one of the most dangerous places to fly in the world due to its challenging topography and the weather patterns over Nepal. In fact, the European Union has
Disha,
carriers from its airspace.
We are seeing an increase in these plane crashes that are being reported out of Nepal. A very tragic plane crash that has taken place this morning at about 11 o'clock at the Kathmandu airport, where 18 lives have been lost. There were 19 people on board. The only person who has survived so far is the pilot, who has been rushed to the hospital. 18 bodies have been recovered as this flight was taking off for Pokhara, but crashed very close to the runway at the international airport in Kathmandu. We'll get you the very latest on this. For now, we're slipping into a very short break.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पर डिपेंड करता है। आज ही जाइए पैसाबाजार.com पर और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत किसी को भी कभी भी पड़ सकती है।
चल एक्टिंग थोड़ा भेल बनो।
ये आया बात पैसाबाजार.com।
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने देश के विकास
Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the topmost news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं।
वो परफॉर्मेंस सही सारा नहीं थे, बढ़िया रिजल्ट्स मिले।
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, is that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. या फिर Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने ये देश के विकास
Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections.
NDTV
against the narco-terror network in Jammu and Kashmir, with 4 government employees who have been fired by the J&K administration. 4 government staffers allegedly were part of the terror outfit, and officials have seized 10 kgs of drugs. We have my colleague Nazir joining us. Nazir, take us to the very latest.
Well, as far as these 4 employees who have been, sacked from government services, so they are 2 are policemen, and then there are 2 other government employees. They are allegedly involved in the narco-terror activities, and they were. It is a kind of syndicate which has been operating, and which is seen as at the root of the resurgence of militancy in Jammu and Kashmir. How narcotics, hard drug, particularly heroin, which is being smuggled from across the border, is sustaining this militancy or enabling this militancy in large parts of Jammu and Kashmir. So 4 government employees, including 2 cops, have been sacked. This is part of the ongoing operation by, if you see, dozens of government employees, including cops, have been terminated, their service have been terminated over the last 2 years. But this time the bigger challenge has been, besides this, the spate of encounters. For example, in last 24 hours, Army has suffered 2 casualties, 2 soldiers have been killed in action. And as one operation is still going on, that's in the Lolab area of Kupara district, where 1 army soldier has been killed during an encounter in which 1 militant has also been killed. The soldier, a non-commissioned officer, was grievously injured this morning. He later died due to injuries. It happened within 24 hours after this encounter or the county infiltration operation in Poch, Krishna Ghati sector, where 1 army soldier was killed in action during counter-infiltration operation. So there have been multiple incidents of encounters, attacks on the army, and the army appears to be the prime target of the militants, and they have suffered casualties. And the last thing army would like to have is losing its men during these encounters. So, but as militancy has spread across Jammu and Kashmir, army and the police have launched relentless operations across the region. And we see the government also coming very hard on those who are involved in this narco-terror activities, and 4 government employees have been sacked for their alleged involvement in the narcotics in Jammu and Kashmir.
Right, very tragic news coming of 1 soldier who has died and another who has been injured. This is in a matter of 24 hours. 2 encounters have taken place. A terrorist was killed and a soldier injured during that gunfight that ensued during a search operation by the Indian Army in Jammu and Kashmir's Kupwara district early this morning. And let's just get you the very latest when it comes to this tragedy that struck in Kathmandu, a plane that crashed during takeoff with 19 people on board. 18 bodies have been recovered. The plane was headed to Pokhara, but just within minutes of takeoff, it crashed, dived into the ground, and it burst into flames, as you can see on your screens right now. Those are visuals from the international airport in Kathmandu. This was a Saurya Airlines flight which took off, and within minutes it just crashed right off the runway. It had 19 people on board. These are visuals coming in from the Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu. The Saurya Airlines plane that crashed while takeoff, and this was with that burst into flames with 19 people on board. Most of them were technical staffers and some were from the airline crew, which included the pilot. The pilot has been rushed to the hospital. He's the lone survivor of this crash. So the plane was only carrying technical staff of the airlines. There were no passengers on board. Firefighters managed to to douse that fire and recover the bodies on board that flight. Of the 19 people, 18 bodies have been recovered. The sole survivor of this crash is the pilot, who has been rushed to the hospital. He's said to be serious. We're waiting for an update on his condition. Saurya airline plane that crashed at the Tribhuvan International Airport at about 11 o'clock this morning in Nepal. Many questions being raised as far as the safety and security of the planes in Nepal is concerned, because there are multiple reports coming in of the last few years, especially in the last 14 years. 12 plane crashes have been reported from 1955. About 44 deadly plane crashes have been reported, and of course this also brings to mind that plane crash which was the deadliest in the last 30 years. There were 72 people on board a Yeti airline flight that crashed in January of last year. That resulted in the death of 72 lives, and now 18 lives have been lost in this plane crash that took place at about 11 o'clock this morning, as that flight that you can see on your screen was about to take off. It did just about get off the ground, but within minutes it nosedived and crashed and burned just minutes, literally within seconds of that takeoff. So the Saurya International Airlines, which doesn't have too many aircrafts, it has just a couple of aircrafts that operate in Nepal. It's a domestic carrier, a domestic airlines, which was making route for this very short distance from Kathmandu to Pokhara, which is hardly not even an hour's flight. A small plane with a capacity of not more than 50 people, in which 19 people were on board, and of the 19 people, 18 people have lost their lives. The only sole survivor is the pilot, who has been taken to the hospital. We will get you an update as far as the health of the pilot is concerned. But visuals on your screen of that plane crash that's taken place in Kathmandu early this morning. A plane that just took off, and within seconds of that takeoff, nosedive and crash very close to the runway at the international airport in Kathmandu. And with that, we're slipping into a very short break. Back with a whole lot more. Do stay with us.
Amity has been ranked India's
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं, ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक करें फ्री में पैसाबाजार.com पर। लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
ठीक से एक्टिंग नहीं।
पैसाबाजार.com।
After a great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport, where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं।
बहुत ही परफॉर्मेंस आई सारे दी थे बढ़िया रिजल्ट्स मिले।
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. 10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Though a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने ये देश के विकास
Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After a great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
वो performance सही सारे दी थे बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello, Moto.
A plane crashes at Kathmandu International Airport on takeoff. According to the local media, 18 people have died, and the video of the actual crash there. Heated face-off in Parliament over the union budget. The opposition slams the budget, saying its allies' appeasement that has been done in the budget. Other states have been ignored. A few walk out of Parliament, out of Rajya Sabha, as the Finance Minister speaks. The Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, says it's an outrageous charge. It's not possible to name all the states. Farmer leaders arrive in Parliament to meet with Rahul Gandhi. Farm leaders were initially blocked by the security from entering the Parliament complex. Rahul meeting with farm leaders to discuss MSP and their appeal to Rahul to raise the issue in Parliament. YSRCP leader Y.S. Jagannath Reddy holding a protest in Delhi today, alleging that law and order in Andhra Pradesh has deteriorated. He's been joined by several India bloc leaders, including Akhilesh Yadav. And another transgression by controversial IS trainee Pooja Khetkar. She flouts the government order asking her to report to the IS Academy in Mussoorie. A no-show by Pooja Khetkar. Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Gargi Rawat, and in some news just coming in, a second soldier has been killed in action in Jammu and Kashmir. This is the Army's second casualty in 24 hours. One Jawan was killed in Poonch on Tuesday, and today another soldier has been killed in an encounter, in a gunfight in Kupwara. So some sad news there coming in. That's the big breaking news coming in from Jammu and Kashmir, that there has been another encounter, another gunfight, and a second soldier has been killed. So 2 soldiers have been killed in the last 24 hours. Let's go across to Nazir now. For more, Nazir, first and foremost, tell us about what happened in Kupwara.
Well, according to Army, they had developed some information about presence of militants in Lulab area. So since yesterday, operation was launched jointly by Jammu and Kashmir Police and the Army. But this morning, Army said that one militant has been killed and one non-commissioned officer, a soldier, has been injured. The injured soldier later died. So this is the second casualty Army has suffered in the last 24 hours. Yesterday, one Army soldier was killed in action during a counter-infiltration operation in Krishna Ghati sector of Poonch district. However, there was no information or confirmation if any militant has been killed or infiltrator has been neutralized during the operation. So this is part of this ongoing spate of attacks or the encounters in Jammu and Kashmir, which has actually upset all the security calculations about the region. So there have been series of meetings, including the recent visit of Army Chief to Jammu, where he held the meetings with the Jammu and Kashmir Police and all of the security agencies, besides holding a meeting with the J&K Lieutenant Governor to chalk out the strategy how to deal with this spate of militancy. So it is from North Kashmir to the Jammu region. So you have the operations being launched by the Army, but in the course, Army has suffered 2 casualties. And since there has been large number of casualty, Army has suffered, particularly in the Jammu region. Army has been launched relentless operation in some areas. More troops have also been deployed to deal with the situation. And in Kupwara, this encounter operation, the Army said operation is in progress because there's possibility there could be more militants, still at large in the same area.
All right, Nazir, thanks so much for joining us with those details. So a second soldier killed in action in Jammu and Kashmir. 2 soldiers have died in the last 24 hours. Well, news now from Nepal, where a massive tragedy has taken place at the Kathmandu International Airport, where 19 people were on board this flight that crashed on takeoff. According to the local media there in Nepal, 18 people have died in this plane crash. The bodies of 18 have been taken out, and the pilot has been hospitalized, is what the initial information coming in. This was an airline of the Saurya airline group that crashed at the Tribhuvan International Airport. Let's go across to Ghazali now for more. And Ghazali, very, very tragic. Another accident, another air incident taking place in Kathmandu. And on board this flight were technical staff. This plane was headed to Pokhara.
Yeah, this plane was headed to Pokhara, and the incident happened at around 11 a.m. Local time. The plane perhaps caught fire upon takeoff. That was the impact of the takeoff which led to the fire in the plane. And this is what we are being told by the eyewitnesses as well as the airport officials. And this plane had like 19 passengers on board. They were all either technical crew members or the technical staff of the plane. Immediately after catching fire, the plane exploded. It crashed, and after which the rescue team reached the spot. The firefighting team reached the spot, and within minutes they controlled the fire. But in this entire plane crash, nobody has survived. 18 bodies have been recovered. The pilot has survived, and he was rushed to the hospital. His medical condition is not known yet. And this also brings back the attention to the point that how Nepal's air carriers are facing issues of safety as well as the lack of training with the pilots is what we are being told. Because if you see the track record of the aircraft accidents in Nepal in the last 10 years, as per the average record, Nepal reports one plane accident every year, and even in the recent past, in the last 1 year, 3 or 4 incidents have happened where for the same location last year in January, a plane was moving to Pokhran. It had crashed. It was crashed there, killing more than 20 people on the flight. So this is certainly a big issue as of now. The official reason of the entire incident, that why did the plane catch fire after takeoff, has not yet been ascertained because the officials over there are engaged in the rescue operation. 18 bodies have been recovered. The fire has been controlled. It has been put off, but the rescue team is still at the crash site right now.
That's right, Ghazali, and as you said, several fatal accidents have taken place in Nepal in the last couple of years. In fact, since 2010, at least 12 fatal air crashes have taken place, and several issues. Every time such a crash takes place, there's talk about the weather conditions, but also the condition of the aircraft, isn't it?
See, Nepal's air industry has boomed over the years because they have been sort of carrying goods and people between hard-to-reach areas as well as foreign trekkers and climbers. But it has also struggled with the flight safety issues, the safety and standard issues, as well as the insufficient training and maintenance is said to be the reason by the aviation watchers. That could be one reason why Nepal continues to report fatal accidents, fatal air accidents involving planes, either while they are taking off or either they are catching fire mid-air. So this is one thing which is a greater concern, and reports also suggest that European Union has banned all the Nepal carriers getting into their zone due to this same reason. Now that is something we are yet to know the exact reason of this particular incident, whether it was the low visibility, whether it was incompetent training by the pilot, or any other possible reason for this flight catching fire immediately after taking off, because this entire incident has happened within 5 to 6 minutes of taking off from the airport, from the airstrip, and it caught fire, then it exploded, and that is why all the 18 on board have died in this crash, have been killed. 18 bodies have been recovered. The pilot, fortunately, has survived and has been rushed to the hospital. But we have the Kathmandu International Airport has also been closed till 1 p.m. The local time. We don't know the exact reason of this particular incident. That why did the flight catch fire? And perhaps after the rescue operation gets over, official announcement will be made, or officials will share that why whether all 19 have been killed in this crash, what is the medical condition of the pilot, and what led to this particular accident.
All right, thanks so much, Ghazali. And there you can see those visuals, that video that shows the actual, the plane taking off and then crashing just, shortly, moments after that, and catching fire. To talk more about this, we're joined by Captain Amit Singh, air safety expert. Thank you so much for joining us. A very, very tragic occurrence really there in Kathmandu, and according to the local media, 18 people have died, 18 bodies have been recovered, and a matter of investigation, a probe as to what caused this accident, but yet another, accident involving an aircraft in Nepal.
It is extremely tragic and disheartening to see these pictures.
Yes, go ahead.
But we need to think about why every year we cause such accidents, tragic news. The safety record has been poor, I was say, and UN body ICAO and even the European Air Safety Agency has downgraded that they cannot fly to. They pull up their socks. But systemic failure in Nepalese safety systems, that ultimately the pilots are left to handle the failures of all others. And if there is a technical failure, poor maintenance, an old aircraft coming in, and poor safety oversight, they have to look at the training of the pilots. They don't have simulators there, flight simulators. So the takeoff and landing are the most critical phases of any aircraft, and that the speed of the aircraft is about 200 to 250 kilometers an hour. That is a very high speed at which the aircraft travels, and maximum changes happen there. So that is a critical phase. Any failure there, the response of the pilot has to be immediate and adequate. If there is no reaction or overreaction, as we can see, the aircraft was in a steep bank as it came down and kind of leveled off, which means the pilot was trying or struggling to recover the aircraft from an upset position. We call it an upset when it goes beyond the normal regime of bank or pitch, which means a steep bank or a very high rate of climb or descent. So obviously, a highly skilled and trained pilot will be able to recover, provided they have done enough training during their recurrent courses, which is every 6 months. They should undergo simulator and practice the most critical condition of an engine failure at takeoff or an upset recovery.
Right.
So if Nepal
Captain
does not
Amit
have
Singh,
that infrastructure, they do not invest.
Right. It's very chilling to see that video, you know, the moment of the crash, just minutes after, just seconds after it took off. What we can tell you, this Saurya Airlines aircraft that the airlines flies, Bombardier CRJ 200 jets. What do we know about these aircrafts?
Well, not many accidents have happened on this aircraft, but this is a difficult aircraft to handle. That is what the pilots who have flown the Bombardier CRJ have said, because of the wing and the aerofoil structure. Any failure, the pilot has to be highly skilled to maneuver the aircraft, and especially in a critical airfield like Nepal, where you have terrain around and difficult weather, all the adverse conditions. So even so, the training has to be of a much higher standard and quality, which obviously Nepal does not have that infrastructure to impart that training. So somewhere there have been issues about quality of training and assurance in training infrastructure being built. Every year we have the same issues of either aircraft going into the mountains, that is a CFIT controlled flight into terrain, or because of some failure. So any element which fails, the pilot should be able or should be trained to handle. The quality has to be much higher than other areas like a flat airfield with no mountains around. So here you have all the adverse conditions. The maintenance has to be very high. The aircraft has to be new, not 20-year-old. And the most important part is the oversight of the regulator. The regulator should be able to have an adequate oversight over the safety conditions inside the airline, wherein they have to be assured that no shortcuts are taking place in either maintenance or training. So these things are repetitive. That is why they have been downgraded by the UN body and even the European Safety Agency. So that is, if we do not take any action, inaction, that is basically leading to all these issues
all right, thank you so much, Captain Amit Singh, for joining us on the program. Very tragic accident there in Nepal, in Kathmandu, and according to the local media, 18 people have been killed in this air crash. The pilot is in hospital. News now from Parliament today. An India bloc leaders staged a protest both in and outside Parliament against what they described as discrimination against opposition ruled states in the recently unveiled union budget that was presented in the Lok Sabha yesterday. And this is something we've heard from opposition leaders since yesterday, saying this is a Sarkar Bachao budget and its allies' appeasement that is taking place. Now, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, while speaking in Rajya Sabha, said that she can't name every state in budget. She called it an outrageous charge. And as she was speaking, several opposition members briefly walked out of the Rajya Sabha before returning to their seats. So symbolic walkout during the finance minister's speech. Let's listen into what she said.
Just to the point that I have not named many states and probably spoke about only 2 states. There are a few points which I have to table here with your permission, voice here with your permission, as to what happens in a speech Congress party has been in power for a very long time in this country. They presented so many different budgets, and they would know clearly that in every budget, you don't get an opportunity to name every state of this country.
जो कल बजट पेश हुआ, उस बजट में किसी स्टेट को कुछ नहीं मिला और सबके थाली खाली और दो के थाली में पकोड़ा और ये अपना जिलेबी, ये दो छोड़ के किसी को नहीं मिला कुछ। ना तमिलनाडु को मिला, ना केरला को मिला, ना कर्नाटक को मिला, ना महाराष्ट्र को मिला, ना पंजाब, ना हरियाणा, ना राजस्थान, ना छत्तीसगढ़, ना किसी स्टेट को कुछ नहीं, दिल्ली को नहीं दिया।
That may well be the case, but there is very little for most states. The injustice, for example, in the case of Kerala, there were a few expectations, particularly in the health sector, the promise to maintain an AIMS there and so on, all of which have not been fulfilled. So these are the kind, each state has its own issues to point to.
हम सभी लोग जितने लोग हैं और खासकर समाजवादी लोग, किसानों को MSP मिले, आय दोगुनी हो, उसका रास्ता निकले। लेकिन इधर देखने को मिल रहा है समर्थन मूल्य किसान को न मिल करके जो अलायंस पार्टनर हैं, जो सरकार बचा रहे हैं, उन्हें समर्थन मूल्य सरकार दे रही है। ये तो अखबारों में भी छपा है। आप पहले बेरोजगार करते हैं, बेरोजगारी बढ़ाते हैं और उसके बाद ऐसी आधी अधूरी नौकरी लाते हैं जिससे किसी नौजवान का भविष्य बनने वाला नहीं है। इंटर्नशिप के बाद क्या होगा, उनको नौकरी कौन देगा?
Let's go across to Vasudha now, who joins us from Parliament. And Vasudha, so the opposition really upping the ante today. As we knew yesterday, they had announced they were going to hold this protest and making this charge over discrimination and, allies appeasement, though the finance minister hitting back, saying that it's not possible to name all the states during her speech.
Absolutely, Gargi. Third day of the budget session, and we saw a rocky start to that. In fact, it was expected that the opposition will raise this issue of, claiming that the budget that was presented yesterday, the 12th budget of the Modi government, the first of Modi 3.0, was political in nature. In fact, the opposition has said that this was a political jugglery balancing the interests of regional allies, NDA and TDP, and other states that are ruled by non-NDA parties have been completely ignored. And to this respect, all senior opposition leaders, including K.C. Venugopal, Mallikarjun Kharge, Akhilesh Yadav, spoke in that context. And in fact, the politics of this played out in Rajya Sabha with Nirmala Sitharaman very aggressively replying to this, saying that, Mallikarjun Kharge and the Congress party have ruled the country for several years, and the Congress party should know that it's not possible to mention every state in the budget, in the union budget. She, in fact, specifically targeted the TMC also, because TMC also was raising a lot of voices, and she basically said that TMC government in West Bengal has not really implemented any of the central schemes, including Ayushman Bharat, so they shouldn't have the audacity to ask them about projects. So clearly that was what happened today, but of course the protest is going to continue. Both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha will witness discussions on the budget. Remember, 20 hours have been allocated to discuss the budget. We are told that people like P. Chidambaram, Shelcha Kumari, and of course Praniti Shinde are some of the speakers. On the BJP side also, we'll have a lot of aggressive speakers defending the government's point of view. Apart from that, another important thing that happened in the parliament while this was all happening, a group of, delegation of farmer organization representatives from 12 different organizations came to meet Rahul Gandhi. So he met them with a couple of other MPs, including K.C. Venugopal and Dipender Hooda. Both, there was maximum presence from MPs from Haryana and of course Punjab. So that meeting also just, happened. Apart from that, BJP has also sent out a circular asking all its office bearers to ensure that, that the budget is sort of disseminated across the country, and every person in this country is told that this budget is for them, be it the fact that he could be from the SC, ST or OBC community. So that is the BJP also, upping its ante and taking a very strong aggressive position. So all of that is going to play out from 2 o'clock when both houses will witness discussions on the on the budget that was presented yesterday by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. She's expected to respond to this on Tuesday and Wednesday. She'll, of course, first respond to this reply to that in Lok Sabha, and then she'll also reply in the Rajya Sabha.
All right. Thanks so much, Vasudha, for joining us with those details. The opposition there targeting the finance minister. With that, we'll slip into a short break. More news coming up on the other side. Stay with us.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही पैसाबाजार.com पर जाइए और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है। बस एक्टिंग करा लो इनसे। पैसाबाजार.com, क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक, आदत अच्छी है।
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने ये देश के विकास
Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
ਉਹਦੀ performance ਸਹੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਤੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟਸ ਮਿਲੇ.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the
Welcome back. Rahul Gandhi today invited farmer leaders to meet with him in Parliament in his office as leader of opposition. The leaders were initially stopped from entering the Parliament complex but were later allowed. The farm leaders may request Rahul Gandhi to introduce a private member bill addressing their long-standing demands around MSP.
हमने यहाँ इनवाइट किया था अपने ऑफिस में मिलने के लिए, तो यहाँ कहा गया है कि उनको अंदर नहीं आने देंगे, शायद क्योंकि वो किसान हैं इसलिए यहाँ अंदर अलाउ नहीं कर रहे हैं, तो बाहर मिल लेंगे.
YSRCP leader YS Jagan Mohan Reddy is holding a protest in Delhi today, alleging law and order has deteriorated in Andhra Pradesh. Jagan travelled to Delhi yesterday and claimed that since the coalition government came to power, YSRCP leaders have been targeted with attacks and murders. Now, several leaders from the India bloc did meet with Jagan Reddy, and you can see Samajwadi Party chief Akhilesh Yadav also meeting with Jagan at the protest site. And another transgression by controversial IS probationer Pooja Ketkar has come to light, and she has done a no-show at the IS Academy in Mussoorie, where she had been summoned after several issues had emerged regarding the manner in which she took her exam and questions over some of the certificates that she had presented to get to be regarded as somebody with special abilities or disabilities. Now, Maha government had ordered her to report to the academy, and she was to join on the 23rd of July, but she has been a no-show. And finally, Samarth by Hyundai, in partnership with NDTV, is a movement for equal rights for people with disabilities. The initiative, now a nationwide movement, has the support of eminent faces and voices from across the country. Here is one such voice.
पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटीज के लिए भी क्या कोई जरिया आपने क्रिएट किया पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्टेशन?
अभी तो हमने ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस बहुत आसान कर दिया उनके लिए अलग अलग प्रकार की गाड़ियाँ ये कंपनियाँ बना रही है, और सबसे बड़ा हर बस में उनकी अलग व्यवस्था की। अभी देखो प्रॉब्लम क्या है, हम बस में जब चढ़ते हैं तो 1, 2, 3 ऐसी लेयर होती है, और ये गलत है। मैंने सब जगह कहा, 2 चीज़ें ट्रांसपोर्ट मंत्री करके सबको कहा कि आप मैक्सिमम 8 इंच है, कोई भी चढ़ के जा सकता है।
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
And coach Gautam Gambhir conducted the first team training for Team India.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India, one world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने ये देश के विकास
Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Election.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility, according to the prestigious
And welcome to our special show, Budget of Hope. We are here at the Indian School of Business, and I have with me students and also professors who will give us reactions to the Union Finance Minister's budget for 2024-25. I have with me Professor Prasanna Tantri and also Professor Shashwat Alok. I'm going to go to you first. What's your initial reactions? The big focus seemed to be employment, and in fact the finance minister said employment is an acronym for all the different things, whether it's employment, middle class, productivity and so on.
Yeah, being from education sector, it's music to our ears to hear that human capital's value people have realized finally. And I think the big positive in this budget is the realization that the human capital that we have, most of it is not employable directly. There needs to be some incentive to the corporate sector to hire these people, and that is what the government has realized. And it's also an acknowledgement that the current kind of skill development programs are not delivering what they're supposed to deliver. So at least let corporates train these people and let's give them some incentives. This recognition, I think, is a big deal. You know, we can debate about the form of whether this 5,000 is adequate or 15,000 is adequate, but the fact that human skilling and that can happen in a private setup better than in a government setup is, I think, is a very, it's a big change from the past. Yeah, I have my, we can crib about anything and
but the big focus certainly employment in this particular budget, it appears, but it should also seem that, politically employment was perhaps the most sensitive part for this government as well.
I mean, both politically and economically. So the focus on youth-centered employment schemes is quite welcome, especially for the manufacturing sector. We really need to create jobs. And as Prasanna rightly pointed out, I concur with him. The challenge is how do you forecast which skills will be in demand in the future. Now what the government is doing is allowing the private sector to figure out what is the skills that they need. And at the source of the employment, you have on-jobs training, which I think one could ask for more, and the government should always be pushed to do more. But it's a welcome change from the past. Largely, I think, despite having this show, budget should be a non-event. And I'm quite happy with the fact that stock markets have largely remained flat, which is a sign of a maturing economy. It's not a one-day, the economy is not in a day, it's a continuous process. And the fact that budget is along expected lines gives me a lot of hope for the future.
Okay, so both of you are very enthusiastic about the fact that employment has been the focus, but whoever the corporates I heard in the morning, they said, we hope this incentive, employee-linked, whatever the incentive that the government is offering, I hope it's for the government sector and not for the private sector. They didn't seem so excited about it.
No, I think they have to see the fine print. The problem now is, if you, the productivity of the worker and the wage that they ask for, there is a gap between that. That is what this program is going to solve. And they will see, if those corporates don't hire, somebody else will hire. That, as Shashwat said, now a bureaucrat will not decide what skill or what training needs to be given. Market will decide. And if somebody is not enthusiastic, their competitor will be enthusiastic. So what it does is, it will basically bring down the cost of labor. And it can have shift from, some capital to labor as well. So the thing is, it's not whether this person likes it or not. Markets will ensure that, this person will have to like it and take it. If implemented well, if this comes with a lot of conditions, it comes with restrictions, then inspection and all, let's say it increases 10 more inspections. Then nobody may be interested in this. So it should be implemented in the spirit it should be. And even if they are not, without too much of compliance, even if they are not enthusiastic today, they will be forced to. That's the beauty of markets.
Okay. Quick reactions from all of you. I know perhaps most of you want to be entrepreneurs, isn't it? And angel tax being removed, is that something that made you excited?
Yeah, so I think this is, again, as Shashwat said, ideally a budget should not be it should be a non-event, right? So the budget should be a checks and balances thing, and removing the agent tax, that is something which is great. Making sure that buybacks and dividends are then now priced equally, right? Because you get taxes the same rate. I think it goes to show that there is a clear incentive for them to simplify things. And angel tax, obviously removing that gives a huge fillip to entrepreneurs in India.
What was your big takeaway?
So, of course, one of the big takeaways is the gap between the STCG and the LTCG rates, right? So, though it's, of course, left some retail investors with a heartburn, it has affected the markets a little bit. I think the longer term of the government is to focus on long-term holdings and eventually create a mature market that values sustainable wealth creation. So, though it may affect futures and options trading in the short run, in the long term, the government seems to be focused on fostering longer-term holdings, yeah.
You know, there's one thinking that the taxing on the long-term capital gains or short-term capital gains is because banks are actually losing the money, and therefore is that your understanding also, that trying to bring the money back into the banks?
Certainly not my understanding. I am a little confused about what people have been saying. So when I sell or buy a stock, there is a trader on the other side. If I am purchasing a stock from that person gets that capital. Now that person can either consume or put that money in the bank. That capital is ultimately flowing into the bank. I am generally more oriented towards free markets. Who are we to decide where should investors
park? The economic survey also had this warning, isn't it? That too many people.
Yeah, unfortunately it did.
Unfortunately it did. Okay, what's your takeaway from the budget?
Major takeaways, it's a welcome move that employment has been encouraged in this budget particularly, and also the fact that the angel investment tax has been reduced. I think that would also encourage entrepreneurial spirit, and it would certainly benefit the youth of India.
I think the real estate sector, the stock price of the real estate sector have fallen because a part of the drop in taxation would be reduced by the takeaway of the indexation benefit. So that's something that the real estate sector is very cautious of.
I in fact thought with the PM Awas Yojana and the money that was being spent in infra, real estate is actually positive about this.
Yeah, definitely. It is a very welcoming move for this budget, and also the corporate tax cut, which about 5%, help to bring in more capital into the company, into the India, and maybe help to in making India campaign more successful.
So people of economic survey also spoke about even getting capital investment, the FDI perhaps from China, and that bringing down the rates. What is your big takeaway from this budget that the finance minister has announced?
So for me, the biggest takeaway was the angel tax reduction, because if we look at the differential between the number of angel investors in US and India, we recently touched around 25,000 like last year, and US has had like 300,000 10 years back. So I feel the growth will be fueled by startups in the coming years. So that reduction will definitely give the boost that is so desperately needed.
This is a startup-focused school, so the angel tax being abolished is obviously extremely exciting news for us. We're seeing unicorns being popped up here and there everywhere. This will only give us the right incentive to build something of our own and take the country forward.
Along with creating the employment, the skills required for the employment, one of the major takeaways is how the government is trying to cut the custom duties for the manufacturing sector, be it the energy, where they have cut custom duties on solar panels, would probably lead us to future healthy energy transition, and also on some of the other capital goods where the manufacturing sector will benefit a lot to create a cost competitive market.
My takeaway from the budget was the government is trying to reduce the fiscal deficit. They had initially planned to reduce the fiscal deficit by 5.1, now it's 4.9. So that's a huge welcoming move towards the economy.
I think it's safe to call it a mixed bag, that in the first half of the finance minister's speech, we saw they were all good news. Great news on employment, on jobs, on skilling. And that's when the second half came and a lot of retail investors and common people got upset. So in the first half, I think, as you've pointed out, that right before the elections, we saw how important it is for unemployment to be an agenda, a primary agenda for the government, which we didn't see in the previous budget. So that's great that that's the primary focus now. And on taxation, I think that does leave a sour sour taste even for retail investors who do fall in, some of them do fall in the middle class as well. They invest in, for real estate, that's not a problem, but they do invest in equity for the long term, and that does leave a sour taste for the common retail investors.
That could have been left untouched.
Right. So I think focusing on human capital, focusing on education, focusing on employment has been long due, and I think this budget has rightly focused on that and created great facilities for that. But as my batchmate over here has also mentioned that changing the taxation was a little bit of a problem. I think I also view it as a little bit of a criticism that I would want to put forward for this budget, that the tax rules are being changed again and again. This was changed in the last budget as well. Now again the tax rules have been changed. It creates a little bit of an uncertainty and an instability within the minds of retail investors as well as everyone who's viewing India as a stable economy. That is my only point of concern, but other than that I think a great budget.
Okay, fiscal deficit being brought down, everyone says is great news, but again there is a contrarian view as well, isn't it, that money, if it was used in asset creation, would be a good idea?
Yes, I mean fiscal deficit should be just based on what that deficit is funding. If that deficit is funding positive NPV investments leading to good asset creation, it is not necessarily a bad thing, especially for an economy at the young growth stage that we are in.
Yeah, so I agree with that, except that operationally this year, 6 months, we are left with what, 6 months for another budget. You have to, last year they budgeted 10 lakh crore and spent 9 lakh 48. So what's the point in budgeting and if you're not able to spend? And what happens, with this top-down approach of allocation-based approach, because you've allocated, you give money to ministries. By February, they're under pressure to spend. Then positive NPV shows up on paper. Because you have to get that money, otherwise money will be taken back. So given this year, given that it's a 6 months thing, it's not a full year budget, I think it was a wise thing to just pause and figure out and what's going on these projects. And as I said, there is, we don't, and in terms of deficits, we missed this point when we talk about India. 4.9 is of the center. There are states. If you add center and states, we are at 8%. Which is the highest among all BBB rated countries, even the countries with high growth like Indonesia, right? 8% is not a small number. It's a very big number. And if you see our interest payments, out of the 48 lakh crore budget, 12 lakh crore is interest payments. Our revenue is 31 lakh crore and 12 lakh crore.
There are many Sri Lankas in the making.
Yeah, so the problem is if the execution falters, remember when you make capex, you will have to spend resources on maintenance year on year. US, for example, has a gross savings rate of 18%, net of 5%. Where does 13% go? They have to maintain their assets. Now, if your execution slows down, if you just allocate without having actual projects on the ground, then you will have a lot of these resources going towards maintenance of assets without creating anything. So I think it was a welcome pause this year, given that there is shortage of time. Otherwise, in principle, I agree with Shashwat. You will not find any disagreement. You should not have called two finance professors. We'll agree mostly on everything, except that execution is important. So that's why I think this year it was a good thing to do.
Okay, both of you agreed on employment being the big focus. We said human resources the focus this time, but somehow was there enough spoken about? For instance, Ayushman Bharat didn't even get mentioned. I mean, it's something that we have been hoping will actually be, its net would be increased and so on. All that, isn't that a miss in a sense?
Yeah, I've been hoping and pleading also for this. Yeah, that's 7,300 crore plus 3,000 crore on asset creation for a 50 crore, and the PM promised that they're going to cover elderly also this time. If you remember, all elderly will be covered.
And we were hoping this was
the election promise. I think maybe it will come next year. Maybe they don't want to do it everything. So 10,000 crore, what happens is when you allocate 10,000 crore for treating 50 crore people, you start doing all kinds of, cesarean, for example, has to be done in 6,000 rupees. Then obviously it cannot be done. Good doctors will not come. So they have put caps on spending on each of these treatments. That will impact quality. Sadly, that's one I think is a big miss. They should have increased, but hopefully next year they'll do it.
And energy is another area of concern. While we spoke about climate resilient crops and research and so on and so forth, did you find enough in it to talk about the transition that we all are looking for?
I mean, green shoots, yes, right. So the challenge with energy, or more broadly deep tech, which includes space, defense, life sciences, is that these are long-term investments that will bear rewards in the very long run. Now, private markets are generally not suitable to fund this. Debt requires interest payments immediately, while cash flows will come in the long run. Private equities and VCs have their own horizon. So the fact that government has recognized that this requires at least some financing from the government is a good move. Is the allocation enough as of now? Probably not. That needs to be expanded. But at least we are trending in the right direction. So it touches all the right notes. We could do more, but we will learn and probably improve in the next year.
Just want to add one point there, that they spoke about taxonomy this year. It's very, very important, because one of the things is we don't know what is green, what is not green, whether it can be mixed, what is a green bond, how do you define. When you start a new area, taxonomy is very, very important. Although there is no allocation here, I think it's if they do it well, that itself will help bring down cost of capital.
Understanding all these different kind of sectors and talking about, now they spoke about education loans. We still don't know the fine print. But in your mind, what is that as a youngster? Angel tax is one thing. Okay, everyone says, I want to be an entrepreneur, and that brings in. But other than that, what is it that you saw in it which you thought was a good move and something that disappointed you?
I think the Mudra scheme has been now increased, so the coverage that was given earlier for the Mudra scheme has now increased under the Tarun scheme. So I think that is also So I think that is also a welcome move for small MSME borrowers. And other than that, for individual taxpayers also there has been some good news in the sense that the tax slab has been raised to 3 lakh, for which you pay no tax, and also the standard deduction has now gone up from 50,000 earlier to 75,000 now. So I think that brings some incremental good news to the individual taxpayer.
Disappointment, something you're very excited about? What was your big, what did you feel happy about when the finance minister, nothing made you happy?
Definitely. I think as everyone's talked about the angel tax investment, the increase in that was definitely something welcoming as budding entrepreneurs. And I think specifically for me, I'm more interested in the energy field as well. So seeing, as Prof talked about, right, seeing that some of the clarification on what the taxonomy behind that stuff is very important to understand, because it's very easy to say, okay, let's make something green or let's do something green, but what is it actually, what does that mean, and how does that affect the economy is something which is very good to see from my end.
For me, focus on the MSME sector was paramount, because India has around 70% of the employment is generated by the MSME sector, and a lot of employment is being promoted, and there has been increase in the MSME credit schemes, and Mudra loans have been increased, roughly doubled, and this should promote our MSME sector for the long run in generating the revenues for country.
The economic survey spoke about more, bringing in FDI from China as well here. Is that something that is workable? We are talking about rates being brought down for any kind of FDI, but that is something that we need to plug into that supply chain, they say. How critical is it at the stage that we are, the kind of challenges that we have?
Absolutely critical. One of the things that finance ministers have been ignoring for last 10 years is our savings rate. Our savings rate has fallen from 39% to 30%. It's a secular decline. We don't understand why. And plus the new tax thing, students will hate me for this, has made it even worse. Now, when you want to grow, you need to invest, right? If your domestic saving, China, when they grew, it used to be 45%. Indonesia is today also is 38%. We are at 29.2% now, from 39% in 2007-8, and continuously we are dropping. It's a secular decline, maybe lifestyle or whatever. Now then the only option remains FDI. FDI is so much more important than what we think for us. So this 40 to 35% is a great move they did. But eventually, both of us will say the same thing. Taxation alone will not, it's one of the factors. You have to make, ease of doing business is the only solution. Taxation is only one part of it. We are spending too much time on taxation. You have to make, if your inspector is coming every day, you get unexpected GST notices tomorrow. If some rule is interpreted in a different way by authorities the other day, if there's no certainty, if it requires 20 approvals. When Ford wanted to leave India, if you remember, in Mumbai, they faced court cases to shut down. So if you have, as long as you have all these issues, how much ever you bring down your taxes. You remember Dabhol Energy, India gave a sovereign credit guarantee interest rate of 10%. Nobody invested. There was a time where you used to give 10% sovereign guarantee interest rate when Japan's interest rate used to be 0%. How much FDI we used to get? If these incentives, these are like extra toppings on the basic stuff is You should be able to do business easily, enter and exit easily. So that is what you have to fix. That's one of my grouse here. We are very happy.
The Minister has spoken about review in a larger sense as well. I mean, she has said that we are going to do a comprehensive review of this kind of a regulatory environment which we have had.
So they have, right?
So what are the specific steps that you think are required now?
So the devil is going to be in the details and execution. Again, I don't have any specific specs except for the fact that we need stability, whether it's tax policy, whether it's policy for encouraging FDI, employment. What we need is a longer term vision. Where do we want to see ourselves 10, 20 years down the line? Work backwards. Don't tinker with policies every year unless something is really not working out for us. So as Prasanna said, I expect more stability and continuity going forward, more focus and thrust on R&D, but government can only do so much. A lot of it has to be private sector driven. So the fact that they are providing incentives for the private sector to pick up, whether it's manufacturing, employment or innovation, that I think needs to continue for sure.
In that sense, perhaps what the economic survey said and what is being reflected now in the budget seems to be at least in tandem, isn't it? When they put the onus largely on the private sector and state governments as well to create that employment. Do you see that as something that is working harmoniously?
Yeah, so private sector will do if incentives are right. The problem is, as Shashwat said, this inconsistency. For instance, on the one hand, you encourage cash flow driven lending. On the other hand, RBI says it's risky and they'll increase capital adequacy. Now, what will you can say I've given other example. You bring down fiscal deficit, but RBI keeps real rate at 3, the finance minister said that core inflation is 3%. Repo rate is 6.75. What does it say about real rate? 3.75. Forget about food inflation. No food inflation, you can't do anything. So when different parts of the government, if they move in different directions, then you can keep lecturing the private sector. What will the private sector do? With 3.75% real rate, how do I invest? Then my productivity should be so high to generate anything.
So to wrap it up, what is this budget?
So budget is given the constraints, that's it's a good thing, but it's a good start, but they have to identify what's a binding constraint. In some cases binding constraint could be the regulator. In some cases it's not neither they did not speak a word about regulator. I think the biggest binding constraint in India are these autonomous regulators. So it's not the private sector or the state governments. They have to talk about them. You have to think about, these are not like Supreme Court or Election Commission where they have a constitutional freedom. They have a freedom if they do what they're supposed to do, right? So there needs to be a review of what the regulators can do, and they need to act based on this. This I told you. On one hand, you give credit guarantee and you want to encourage this cash flow based lending. On the other hand, you call it risky and clamp down. So then the objective will not be achieved. So they have to recognize that regulators are undoing a lot of the good things the government is doing.
So good beginning, continuity and consistency, that's what the business school expects. Not talking about the politics of what happened in the budget itself, but that's for another debate. Thank you so much for watching.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
बहुत performance सही सारे ने बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. 10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise. Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. Janta ko decide karna hai.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the topmost news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After a great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ है.
The performance सही सारा नहीं थे बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup and
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello, Moto.
Good afternoon and welcome to NDTV. I am Ankit Tyagi. Quickly taking you to the headlines we're tracking at 2 p.m. Heated face-off in the parliament over budget. Opposition slams the budget of the Modi government. Allies appeasement charge. Opposition claims other states ignored. Few walk out of the parliament as well. Finance Minister says outrageous charge, not possible to name all states. Plane crashes during takeoff in Nepal. Pilot hospitalized. The entire incident caught on camera of how this plane tragedy took place in Nepal. Farmers in Parliament to meet Rahul Gandhi. Farm leaders initially blocked by security. Rahul Gandhi meets with the farmers to discuss the MSP demand. Farmers appeal to Rahul Gandhi to raise the issue in the Parliament. Delhi's killer civic apathy claims life of a UPSC aspirant electrocuted during raids. Now, the opposition, in fact, there has been ruckus in the parliament on the second day of the budget session after the opposition targeted the BJP government, the NDA government, over the budget. Let's take you live to Rajya Sabha, where the discussions, in fact, are taking place at this moment. Heated debate taking place with the opposition hitting out at Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and the Modi government, accusing them of appeasement of their own allies.
So that in your party, especially the External Affairs Minister, in your party meetings, you can persuade the Honourable Prime Minister and the Honourable Finance Minister to take some more ideas from our manifesto. We'll be very, very happy to support you if you take those ideas. Copying is not prohibited in this house. In fact, copying is encouraged, copying is rewarded in this house.
One second. If you will address the chair, it will give a soothing feeling to me also. And that will be more appropriate, Mr. Chidambaram.
Copying is encouraged and copying is rewarded in this house. So please copy a little more. Sir, I have 4 major themes, and I think I should be able to complete my submissions on each theme in about 4 or 5 minutes. The first is jobs. Unemployment is the biggest challenge. The Center for Monitoring Indian Economy has estimated all India unemployment rate in June 2024 as 9.2%. It may have come down. Now, earlier there was a production-linked incentive. When you introduce the employment-linked incentive, it must be for some reason. And I suspect the reason was that the production-linked incentive scheme did not create the kind of jobs that you wanted to create. So will the Honourable Finance Minister tell this House what is the outcome of the PLI? Once we know the outcome of the PLI, we can look ahead to what can be expected of the ELI. In fact, from paragraphs 20, 21 and 22, read with paragraph 51 of her speech, neither I nor any of my learned colleagues are able to get a whole picture of the ELI. It seems to us that paragraph 20 talks about the same target industries like paragraph 21, and paragraph 21 talks about the same target industries as paragraph 22. But in paragraph 51, we were suddenly let down when you said only 500 industries are selected. The numbers don't gel, the numbers don't match. Anyway, you have a ELI. It's an interesting idea, but it does not inspire confidence. And let me go on record to say it does not inspire confidence that you will be able to place 290 lakh people under the ELI. that you have described. It should not turn out to be another election Jumla like your 2 crore jobs. Now look at the magnitude of the unemployment problem. Uttar Pradesh Police Department conducted an examination for 60,244 vacancies. 48 lakh persons applied and wrote that examination. It was cancelled a couple of days later. Air India wanted to fill 2,216 vacancies of handymen to do diverse jobs like repair and maintenance. 25,000 people thronged Mumbai airport for a walk-in interview, and the police had been called to restore law and order. A private company in Gujarat sought to fill 5 positions. 1,000 persons barged into that company. Madhya Pradesh advertised 15 low-skilled government jobs. 11,000 applications were received. Among them were postgraduates, engineers, MBAs, and I'm sad to say, even one of them who had just written an examination to be a judge in the Madhya Pradesh High Court. The best illustration is by the Staff Selection Commission. There are staff selection commissions at the center and the states. Uttar Pradesh conducted an examination for 7,500 posts. 24,74,030 people applied for those jobs. And yet, the RBI, about 2-3 weeks ago, said, there is no jobs crisis in India. Exact words, no jobs crisis in India. Why didn't anyone from the minister or any officer stand up and say, we reject this statement. RBI is supposed to be cautious, conservative, and neutral. But you're cautious, you're conservative, and you're not neutral at all.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I suggest, sir, that unemployment be taken seriously, and we will wait for the outcome of your ELI scheme. It is an interesting scheme. At the moment, I'm not impressed. I'm not convinced. The outcome alone will judge whether your intentions are good, whether you really want to tackle unemployment. Sir, the second broad subject is inflation. The Honorable Finance Minister, in paragraph 3 of her speech, dismissed the subject in 10 words. And I'm not exaggerating. Please go through the speech. Exactly 10 words. Is inflation such a trivial subject? You can deal with it casually and dismiss it in 10 words? WPI inflation is 3.4%. CPI inflation is 5.1%. Food inflation is 9.4%.
Oh, shame.
This is data collected where you can collect data, mostly along towns and villages abutting the national highway, at best the state highway, at best the district highway. But go into the hinterland of India, go into the KBK districts of Odisha, go into the interiors of Dharmapuri or Ramanathapuram. The inflation is much higher than your 3.4% or 5.1% or 9.4%. And the chief economic advisor, who may be cautious, conservative, he has a degree of autonomy which no other officer of the government of India has, he said in his economic survey, quote, India's inflation continues to be low, stable, and moving towards the 4% target. It's been moving for the last 4 years. When will it arrive at the 4% target? Is inflation low? Is it stable? No. Is it moving towards the 4% target? No. If it is moving towards the 4% target, why has the RBI not revised downward the bank rate fixed in June 2023?
Yes.
This is the 13th month of a 6.5% bank rate. Bank rate is a good measure of where inflation is moving. If inflation is moving towards the 4% target, 4% is, the target is actually 4 plus or minus 2. It's not 4%. Assuming that 4% is the target, why is the RBI keeping the bank rate at 6.5% for the last 13 months? Why is the MPC, the Monetary Policy Committee, not willing to revise it downwards? And I think what the Chief Economic Advisor said in his economic survey is injury, and the Honorable Finance Minister dismissing the subject in 10 words is adding insult to injury. Inflation is a humiliating situation because every family is hit by inflation. I warn this government, you are taking inflation not so seriously. The last set of by-elections punished you. You will not agree, but I think the last set of by-elections were out of 13 seats, 10 seats were won by the India bloc. Yeah. It's a punishment, a warning administered to you. And if you don't take inflation seriously, you will be punished more. If you want to suffer the punishment, you're welcome to suffer the punishment. And in this situation, you claim that the growth was last year 8.2%. And this year it will be 6.5% to 7%. I'm not going into the macroeconomic analysis. Some of my colleagues will do that. I ask you, how do you arrive at this growth rate? You take the nominal growth rate and apply a deflator and arrive at the GDP. Sir, the House and you must know that the deflator that they have adopted for the manufacturing sector for last year is 1.7. When wholesale inflation is 3.4, when CPI inflation is 5.1, food inflation is 9.4, how do you adopt a deflator of 1.7? In fact, I want the Honorable Finance Minister to tell us what is the deflator you have adopted for manufacturing, industry? What is the deflator you have adopted for industry and for agriculture? And what is the deflator you have adopted for services? Nominal growth is measurable, but your GDP in real terms is simply by adopting a deflator. And if you adopt a deflator, which several knowledgeable economists and experts throughout the world have severely criticized for the last 3 or 4 years, you will arrive at this rosy picture. You will adopt a deflator less than 1.7, you would not have arrived at 8.2, you would have arrived at 9.2. You adopt a deflator of 0.5, you will even cross 10%. So please tell us, what is the deflators you are adopting? Why are you adopting? And tell us what is the nominal growth rate and how do you arrive at these growth rates? These growth rates cannot be seen, but these growth rates can be felt by the people. Please, anyone moving around the people will know. The growth rate can be felt by the people. When there is impressive growth, when there is more goods and services, when prices are affordable, when there is money floating around in the market, when your pockets are jingling with coins or currency notes, you get the feeling that things are going all right in this country. Do you get that feeling? I travel at least 500,000 kilometers every month by road. I don't get that feeling. Does any honorable member from his constituency or state get the feeling that the people tell him things are very good, please go and tell the Prime Minister in Delhi things are very good, we are very happy? Does anyone get that feeling? Nobody. Sir, the third subject is wages. Now, this is a serious matter. The Honorable Finance Minister said, I have given relief. Who has she given relief to? I don't grudge the relief. She has given relief, but who? In 22-23, the last figure I was able to access, the number of taxpayers is 7.4 crore. It may have increased to 8.5 crore. Out of that, 65% have zero tax liability. They file a return, but no tax. Assuming that the 60% remains constant, of say 8 crore or 9 crore taxpayers today, 5.5 to 6 crore will be zero tax liability. You have given relief to people who move to the new tax regime. The new tax regime, I've seen various calculations. Each paper has got a calculation. I have a chartered accountant who's given me a calculation from Gujarat, and he is very knowledgeable. He says that the relief given is between 9,651 rupees to 17,651 rupees. To whom? To this 2 to 3 crore people. India does not consist only of these 2 to 3 crore people. There are 142 crore in this country. Out of 142 crore, let's assume you have given relief to 2 to 3 crore people. What about the rest? Do you know the conditions of the rest? Your household consumption expenditure survey of the government of India counted that the bottom 50%, have 3% of the national wealth, 13% of the national income, and the monthly consumption in rural areas of the family is 3,094 rupees. Multiplied by 12, you will arrive at about 37,000 rupees a year. In urban areas, it's 4,963 rupees. Multiplied by 12, you get 60,000 rupees. So we have 50% of the population, monthly consumption expenditure, 50% is 71 crore, have a monthly consumption expenditure of between 36,000 rupees to 50,000 rupees. Are they rich or poor? This is the bottom 50, below the median. You go down to the bottom 20, go down to the bottom 10, they are even poorer. What is the relief for them? And the Niti Aayog chief executive officer says India has virtually abolished poverty. Poverty cannot be more than 5%. Poverty cannot be more than 5% when you're talking about 71 crore people. 71 crore people, thankfully, is not 5%. Then India's population will be 1,400 crore. India's population is 142 crore. One half is 71. They are below the 171 crore. They are below the median, and this is the median income. Sir, I asked the Honorable Finance Minister, what is the relief given to them? Do you know that most of them are daily labor? 30 crore daily labor in this country. The others are irregular jobs. The regular jobs regular jobs are only for about 17 to 25% of this country. All the rest are in irregular jobs or in daily labor. What is the relief given to them? In the World Hunger Index of 125 countries, we are 111. You may not accept the World Hunger Index, but the action that the government has taken, namely giving free food grain to 81 crore people, is a tacit admission that on the hunger index, we are very, very low. Forget the hunger index. 81 crore people, your own action shows that people cannot afford food. So, my last subject is federalism. What do we see around this country? All India service officers defy the directions and orders of the Council of Ministers of an elected government in Delhi. Funds are withheld from Kerala and West Bengal on one pretext or other. Borrowing limits of non-BJP states governments have been slashed. Tamil Nadu has been denied disaster relief assistance. I ask, why does the UPSC have to play a role in the appointment of the DGP of the state? Why should a state government not appoint the Vice Chancellor of state universities? And how did this government treat Andhra Pradesh and Bihar and Odisha before April? The same demand is there. The same Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act is there. It was there. The Chief Minister was a different person. The same act, for 10 years, how did you treat them? For 10 years, how did you treat Bihar? When a leader wears one cap, you treat him one way. When he changes that cap and he wears another cap, you treat him another way. I don't grudge at all you're giving relief to Andhra Pradesh or Bihar. But what about the other states? We are a federal country. This is the death knell of federalism. If you pick and choose among states, you are the Union of India. You are the union government. You are the government of all the states. You cannot pick and choose one state and deny relief to another state. So finally, I thought the Honorable Finance Minister loved Tamil. I missed her quotes from either Thiruvalluvar or any other classic literature. Maybe she didn't have time to quote from a classic poet in Telugu or in Bhojpuri. Maybe she will in course of time. I want her to remember that she was born in Madurai. She had a schooling in Viluppuram, and she had a college in Tiruchirappalli. And it is very painful, as the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu pointed out, that not in one place in her 60-page speech did she mention the word Tamil Nadu or Tamil. I'm not saying mention only Tamil Nadu. Mention all states. Or mention all the states grouped together. How many times have you mentioned Bihar? How many times have you mentioned Andhra Pradesh? I have no grudge. But please remember that there are other states in India, other states of people, other states elect other governments, they vote against you. Please remember that. Finally, sir, I have 1 minute. I have 5 demands. 5 demands which I would urge the Honorable Finance Minister to copy from our manifesto. I demand this and I want answers. Respectfully, I ask the Honorable Minister to give us answers. If you don't answer this today or in the course of this session or subsequently, It is not as though these demands will die down. They will echo everywhere in India where the India bloc has a right to speak and write. First demand. We demand that a minimum wage of 400 rupees per day for every kind of employment. 2, we demand a legally guaranteed MSP. 3, we demand a write-off of the unpaid balance of interest or installment of educational loans given up to March 2024. 4, we demand the abolition, complete abolition of the Agnipath Agniveer scheme. And 5, we demand that NEET be scrapped, and if some states want to keep NEET, exempt all other states which don't want NEET. These 5 demands will echo not only in this chamber, it will echo throughout the country until you concede these demands. I demand that the Honorable Finance Minister reply to my demand that he should reply to this issue. Thank you.
Very good. Dr. Radha Mohan Das Agarwal.
माननीय सभापति महोदय, मैं माननीय राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष और नेता सदन जेपी नड्डा जी का आभारी हूं, जिन्होंने मुझे पार्टी की ओर से विचार रखने का अनुमति दिया। महोदय, हम लोग जब किसी विषय पर बोलना शुरू करते हैं वित्त के बारे में, तो हमारे सामने 2 बिंब होते हैं। एक बिंब होता है भारत का, वो भारत जिसे हम अपनी माँ मानते हैं। हमारे शास्त्र जिसके बारे में कहते हैं माता भूमि पुत्रो हम पृथिव्यामा। हजारों साल पहले जिसके बारे में लिखा गया, उत्तरम यत् समुद्रस्य हिमाद्रस्तैव दक्षिणम वर्षम तद भारतम नाम भारती यत संतति। समुद्र के उत्तर में और हिमालय के दक्षिण में ये जो देश है, इसे भारत कहते हैं, और हम भारत के पुत्र हैं, भारत के बच्चे हैं, और इसलिए भारतीय कहे जाते हैं। दूसरा बिंब होता है हमारे प्रधानमंत्री का।
All right, that was former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram's quite pointed, in fact, some questions there at the Finance Minister, once again alleging that there has been preferential treatment that has been given to the allies of the BJP, that is Bihar and Andhra Pradesh, essential to keep this government in place, and also in fact, speaking about some other questions and asking the Finance Minister to pick up more things from the Congress's manifesto. We are slipping into a short break. News and updates will be on the other side as well. Stay tuned.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
In association with Amity University.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं, ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। आज ही जाइए पैसाबाजार.com पर और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत किसी को भी कभी भी पड़ सकती है।
चल एक्टिंग थोड़ा भेल बनो।
ए आयो भाग जोर। पैसाबाजार.com।
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise. Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the topmost news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After a great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
बहुत ही performance सही सारे दी थे बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years.
Get ready for the
US President Kamala Harris assailed Donald Trump to her first campaign rally since replacing President Joe Biden as the Democratic presidential candidate, while an opinion poll showed her taking a marginal lead over a Republican rival. In a 17-minute speech, Harris aggressively went after Donald Trump's vulnerabilities, comparing her background as a former prosecutor to his record as a convicted felon. Harris took through a list of liberal priorities, saying if elected, she would act to expand abortion access, make it easier for workers to join unions, and address gun violence, drawing a sharp contrast with Trump, the Republican nominee for president in the November 5th election. As per Reuters Ipsos opinion poll, Vice President Harris opened up a marginal 2 percentage point lead over Republican Donald Trump. This indicates Harris is experiencing a boost in support, likely due to the recent media coverage surrounding her candidacy and Biden's endorsement.
Democrats are moving forward stronger and more united than ever before. In just the last 36 hours, I have seen a surge of enthusiasm from every corner of our party, uniting behind Vice President Harris. An enthusiasm felt in every corner of the country, and it's contagious among Democrats. The volunteers, the small contributions, they're just pouring in ways even beyond our expectations. Now, we all know that Vice President Harris has a tremendous record to run on. And now begins the next chapter in our quest to make sure Donald Trump does not become president.
Donald Trump was just found guilty of fraud on 34 counts. But let's also make no mistake, this campaign is not just about us versus Donald Trump. This campaign is about who we fight for. This is about who we fight for. Just look at how we are running our campaigns. So Donald Trump is relying on support from billionaires and big corporations. And he is trading access in exchange for campaign contributions.
US Secret Service Director Kimberly Schugler has resigned from her job following the assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump that unleashed intensifying outcry about how the agency tasked with protecting current and former presidents could fail in its core mission. Now, the US Secret Service Director since August 2022 had been facing growing calls to resign, and several investigators into how the shooter was able to get so close to Republican presidential nominee at an outdoor campaign rally in Pennsylvania. United States President Joe Biden thanked Kimberly for her service and informed that a new director will be appointed very soon. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in Washington to address the United States Congress. Mr. Netanyahu was invited by the Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson to give his first address to Congress in 9 years. Israeli Prime Minister is also likely to meet United States President Joe Biden, who is battling COVID-19. This would be the fourth address to the United States Congress, the most ever by any leader. Before stepping on the plane on Monday, Netanyahu said he would emphasize the theme of Israel's bipartisanship in his speech, and also said Israel would remain a key U.S. ally in Middle East regardless who the U.S. people choose as their next president. Meta released a new artificial intelligence model. It says its rival technologies from OpenAI and Google, and is making it free for anyone to use. The new model, called Llama 3.1, extends Meta's strategy of making its models open source, meaning anyone can use and modify them without paying the company. If Meta is successful, it would undermine the business models of big tech rivals and make it easier for startups to compete against the likes of OpenAI, while potentially giving fraudsters, state-sponsored hackers, and other bad actors access to cutting-edge technology. Meta released the last version of AI Llama 3 just 3 months ago, but the new release includes a model trained on much more data than the previous version, potentially boosting its capabilities and giving a new tool to companies and organizations that want to use a bigger, more powerful AI model in their products. When OpenAI released ChatGPT in late 2022, it kicked off an arms race among big tech companies to build new AI products and get people to pay for them. Microsoft did a multi-billion-dollar deal with OpenAI to access its tech, while Google created its own AI models and integrated them into its products. Meta has also spent a huge amount of money on AI, but unlike Microsoft and Google, it does not have a large cloud software business to help it sell that AI to other businesses. Just over a fortnight after Labour Party leader Keir Starmer swept the polls in United Kingdom, ending 14 years of Conservative-led government, the newly appointed British Foreign Secretary David Lammy is visiting India on a day-long visit. In the first high-level visit by the newly elected Labour government in United Kingdom, UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy will arrive this morning for this visit. He is expected to call on Prime Minister Modi and will hold meetings with National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal before leaving for on Thursday morning. Mr. Lammy is also expected to discuss plans for new UK Prime Minister Mr. Starmer and Prime Minister Modi to exchange visits. Andy Murray is retiring after Paris Olympics. The 37-year-old tennis sports star would play for the last time in Paris Olympics. We knew his retirement was coming as he was battling injury after injury. A two-time Olympic champion is planning to play in the singles and doubles at his 5th Games. The three-time Grand Slam champion and former world number 1 in a post on social media platform X said, and I quote, "Arrived in Paris for my last ever tennis tournament at Olympics. Competing for Great Britain has been by far the most memorable weeks of my career, and I'm extremely proud to get to do it one final time," unquote. Long-time girlfriends reunite for a wedding in new comedy The Fabulous Four. The film stars Betty Midler as a widow about to marry for the second time and invites her best friends from college, played by Susan Sarandon, Cheryl Lee Ralph and Megan Mullally, to be bridesmaids. The actors say they still have friendships from way back they count as some of their best and most reliable friends.
I do have, like 6 women that have been in my life, scores of gay guys that have been in my life for the same amount of time, 30, 40 years actually. And I count on them, and I think they're the kind of friends that you don't have to see every week. Sometimes people go off, there's no complaints about, I haven't heard from you for so, we just meld in, and we've been through kids and divorces and whatever, and I definitely count on them and sometimes disagree with them, but they are definitely in my tribe for sure.
There are just so many of those relationships, and like she was just saying, you don't have to start from the beginning. You can just pick up right where you were. Me and Sandra in college at Rutgers. It's just like, yeah, those very special friendships.
Actually, to tell you the truth, there's nothing like having an old friend, because they knew you when, and of course they don't take any BS from you, and you really can be yourself. You can be yourself with them. You can be who you really are. The mask has fallen because they know you from before you put the mask up, which is great. It's having reached a certain age and having done a certain body of work behind me, it's easier to be more careful about what you choose. What am I really getting myself into? Do I really like this subject? Am I going to spend, 8, 10 weeks with these people? What's it going to be like? So yes, I am much more careful than I used to be.
Actor Hugh Grant says he's still bitter about his treatment by Britain's ferocious tabloid newspapers, who he took to the court over the invasion of privacy. The actor told ITV documentary Tabloids on Trial he is determined to exact justice on the people who use unlawful means to obtain private information about him. Grant's flat was broken into, and he believes tabloid journalists were to blame.
So, in the case of my flat burglary, yeah, it was quite spectacular in that the whole door had been taken off its hinges. It's a big walk up, like 4 floors up. And yes, they'd been through the flat and nothing was stolen. They'd been there to get information. And a lot of information about the interior and the contents of my flat appeared in newspapers a couple of days later. And there's never been a burglary before or since. I don't hold massive grievances against the foot soldiers or these guys who did this stuff. Not against them, but I remain bitter and determined to exact justice on the executives who commissioned this stuff.
Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman premiered Deadpool and Wolverine in New York on Monday to a star-studded crowd. The highly anticipated latest Marvel movie, co-written and directed by Sean Levy, bring fan favorites Deadpool and Wolverine together. Reynolds and Jackman raved about working with each other. Reynolds and Jackman, who played pranks and joked about each other to the press in the last full year, expressed how they really feel about one another. Blake Lively and Gigi Hadid joined Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman at the star-studded world premiere of Deadpool and Wolverine in New York. The highly anticipated latest Marvel movie, co-written and directed by Sean Levy, brings fan favorites together. You in fact said that I am team supporting all my friends, and yeah, I mean, she was obviously going to the lady pool, so I had to go with Team Wolverine.
I'm team supporting all of my friends, and yeah, I mean, she was obviously going to be Lady Pool, so I had to go Team Wolverine. We couldn't leave Hugh hanging without a yellow, a theme going with her theme. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
We had fun.
So much more. Oh, he's so funny in real life. Like, to me, he's so funny. But, like, not with everyone. Like, he's not always on. But, like, he's very funny with me. I'm always, yeah.
A new trailer for anticipated sequel Joker Fully Due was released after the film was announced to be in competition at Venice Film Festival in September. From acclaimed filmmaker Todd Phillips, the new film is a follow-up of 2019's Academy Award-winning Joker, which earned more than $1 billion at the global box office. The new film stars Joaquin Phoenix once again in his Oscar-winning dual role as Arthur Fleck / Joker opposite Lady Gaga.
I didn't feel so alone anymore.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं, ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक करें फ्री में पैसाबाजार.com पर। लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
ठीक से एक्टिंग नहीं।
पैसाबाजार.com।
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number 1 in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
The performance सही सारे दी थे बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup, and we did it.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with."
Winner of the 2018 Commonwealth Games gold medal, India's table tennis sensation Manika Batra is now eyeing the Paris Olympics. Batra, who was instrumental in India's qualification for the Summer Games, has already beaten world number 2 and former world champion Wang Manyu of China. Can she get an elusive medal in the sport for Team India? She is our contender at the Paris Games.
I don't know about winning or losing, but पूरी जान लगा देनी है. बहुत पहले से मेरा ड्रीम था दैट टेबल टेनिस को उस लेवल पे लाना है कि सब जाने एंड बस ये ना समझे कि हॉबी के लिए ही होता है ये टेबल टेनिस. जब टोक्यो ख़त्म हुआ था, at that time only I started thinking of Paris because you know हमारे लिए 4 साल भी बहुत कम होते हैं, you know, to prepare. Table tennis it's a really quick game क्योंकि point एक ख़त्म होते ही start हो जाता है, so you have to be calm at that time. It's all about mindset and mental game. This is my dream, so I would not say sacrifices. जो मैंने करे हैं वो sacrifices थे मेरे लिए because I wanted this and this is happening. I'm really blessed, so I'm really happy what all I have done. That leaving home and leaving my mummy के हाथ का खाना. So now when I sit and think, it's part of my sport and I enjoy it. Of course ये आते हैं thoughts की बहुत tired हूँ और कल बहुत tiring दिन था, बहुत heavy workout हो गया, आज नहीं जाती, but you have to push yourself and अपने dreams और goals के बारे में सोचती हूँ and then enjoy that moment. I don't want to think about my ranking when I go to Olympics because I think that can give me pressure, but I also want to enjoy like a kid. Same time pe I just want to give my full effort. I don't want to come back with any regrets कि मैं ऐसा कर लेती तो ठीक होता. And I am well prepared for 2024 Paris Olympics. I want to give my not 100 but 1000% that I can do something for my country and for myself. Backhand pe I have pimple rubber. Not only Chinese but every player, they know how to play against pimple rubber. I have really worked hard on my forehand with my coach and I have to keep on doing it because एक दिन में नहीं आता है. So yes, I am working hard on my forehand because बस backhand से I cannot win against top players. जब भी टूर्नामेंट पास आने वाला होता है सो वो हाफ ड्रीम होता है ना कि सबकॉन्शियस माइंड में चलता रहता है. सो मैं अपने आप को पोडियम पे खड़ा होते हुए देखती हूँ. वो बिलीफ चाहिए आपको. I want to keep on doing that, not only when I'm sleeping, also I have to keep on thinking about that podium and our Indian flag, which still gives me goosebumps to stand on the podium and win medal for our country.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
In association.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, is that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise. Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the topmost news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
After great victory by Indian team, and today we are reporting from Mohali International Airport where we are showing these visuals. Arshdeep हमारे साथ हैं.
वो performance सही सारे नहीं थे बढ़िया results मिले.
We are in the city of Kanpur today because they have their champion back home, Kuldeep Yadav.
Desperation for each and everyone to go there and win the World Cup and
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello, Moto.
Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Gargi Raut. Let's take a look at the headlines we're tracking. The opposition protests the union budget both inside and outside of Parliament, accuses the government of prioritizing ally states. Former Finance Minister Chidambaram hits out, says every family is hit by inflation. There's a job crisis. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says not possible to name all states in speech. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi meets with a delegation of farmer leaders in Parliament. They apprise him of their problems and over the MSP guarantee. Congress says Rahul Gandhi will raise the voice of farmers inside the House. 18 people died after a plane crashed to the ground shortly after takeoff at the Kathmandu International Airport. The pilot is the lone survivor. A frightening video shows the moment the plane crashed to the ground. And a 26-year-old man residing as a paying guest in Delhi lost his life due to electrocution after a flooding in his colony. He was preparing for the UPSC. The BJP hits out, says this is criminal negligence by the Delhi government that has led to his death. All right, so those are the headlines we're tracking. But first, some breaking news now coming in. Anti-paper leak bill has been passed in Bihar. This is after the massive controversy over the NEET exam as well this year. And the bill was passed in the Bihar Assembly after it was found that the NEET paper leak had taken place in Patna. Remember, it's the CBI is investigating this entire matter. The opposition staged a walkout as the bill was tabled. Now, this bill says there will be a 1 crore fine and 10 years in jail under this new anti-paper leak bill. Let's just listen into what Nitish Kumar said.
आप लोग बोल रहे हैं, अगर बैठ करके पूरी बात सुन लीजिएगा तब आपको ठीक लगेगा। आइए जो सुनिए, क्या कौन? अरे हम तो सबको बुलाए हैं, मेरी इच्छा थी ना, सारे पार्टियों को, आप लोग भी जब साथ थे, ये भी सबको लोगों को बुला करके हम जो बैठक किए थे और बातचीत करके हम लोगों ने पूरा का पूरा सर्वे करवाया और पूरे जाति जनगणना कराया और एक एक चीज के बारे में जानकारी मिली। सुनिए,
बोलने दीजिए
भाई,
गलत तरीका नहीं है, अरे सुनिए,
अरे आप लोग जो ऐसे ही बोलते रहते हैं, ये सब भूल जाते हैं कि हमने इसको कितना ज्यादा किस तरह से आप लोगों को भी कह के करवाया था। ये मेरी इच्छा थी और सब लोग एग्री किए थे। सुनिए, चुप रहिए, अगर बैठ करके सुनते तब पता चलता कि सचमुच आप कुछ चाहते हैं, कब कुछ चाहते हैं, लेकिन
अरे बैठ जाइए आराम से।
आप सुनिए ना, आप सुन क्यों नहीं रहे हैं? आप जानते हैं कि ये काम हम लोगों ने करवाया और जब आप लोगों के साथ थे ये लोग, इन सब लोगों ने सपोर्ट किया और जब सब लोगों को सपोर्ट किया गया पूरी सर्वसम्मति से, अरे महिला हो, कुछ जानती नहीं हो, महिला को अरे बोल रही है, कहां से आते? इन लोगों के साथ जो हैं, ये लोग कोई महिला को आगे बढ़ाया था? अरे हम 5 के बाद न महिला को बढ़ाए हैं, बोल रही हो फालतू। इसीलिए हम कह रहे हैं चुपचाप सुनो। अरे ऐसे ही बोल रहे, अरे क्या हुआ, सुनोगे नहीं? हम तो सुनाएंगे और अगर आप नहीं सुनिएगा तो आपकी गलती है। हाँ, तो आप समझ लीजिए, ये हम चाह रहे थे कि लोग समझते और एक एक चीज को हम लोगों ने लागू कर दिया, जो भी तय कर दिया था। पिछड़ों का जितना ज्यादा जो आया, तो इसलिए जो भी होता था 50%, उसमें पिछड़ा, अति पिछड़ा, दलित, महादलित, और ये सब की संख्या जो बढ़ी तो हम लोगों ने 50% की जगह 75% किया और 10% केंद्र सरकार ने अपर कास्ट के लिए किया था। उसमें हिंदू मुस्लिम सब थे, तो उनका जो भी था 14% वो रहा और हम लोगों ने उसके लिए ये करवा दिया, ये लागू कर दिया। और यही नहीं, अब इन लोगों को ये नहीं मालूम है कि हम लोगों ने हर परिवार की आर्थिक स्थिति की जानकारी ली और हर परिवार के बारे में जानकारी ली और उसमें पता चला कि 74 लाख, 74 नहीं 94 लाख, और उसमें चाहे वो अपर कास्ट के हों, पिछड़ा हो, अति पिछड़ा हो, दलित हो, महादलित हो, हिंदू हो, मुस्लिम हो, कोई हो, सबको देखा गया। और जो 94 लाख गरीब आए और उसके लिए हम लोगों ने सरकार से तय कर दिया कि हर परिवार को 2-2 हजार हम देंगे, लाख देंगे और उनको देना शुरू कर दिया अब 5 साल के लिए। और इसके बाद और 9वें नंबर पर करने के लिए भी हम लोगों ने किया। तो अभी पटना के हाई कोर्ट ने रोका और तत्काल राज्य सरकार ने सुप्रीम कोर्ट में कर दिया है कि जो हाई कोर्ट का है फैसला, उसके खिलाफ राज्य सरकार ने किया और केंद्र सरकार को 9वें नंबर पर का जो हमने दिया है उसके लिए भी अनुरोध किया। तो ये सब काम कर रहे हैं। तो आप लोग किस बात के लिए यहाँ पर हम लोगों के खिलाफ? अरे ये सब चीज बात तो हम ही न किए हैं जी, अब आप लोग साथ किए हैं। कुछ आइडिया था, अरे सही बोलिए, कांग्रेसी हैं आप, बोलिए सही। कोई बतवा माने थे, एक कल बड़ा भारी आंदोलन कर रहे थे, आज जब हम तो 10 से आंदोलन कर रहे थे जी, बिहार को विशेष राज्य का दर्जा मिले, आपका पटिया नहीं किया, ये दोनों एक साथ थे। अब आजकल बोल रहे हैं, ऐसे ही काहे बोलते हैं।
All right, Bihar Chief Minister there in the assembly, hitting out at the opposition as well, who staged a walkout. Let's go across to Prabhakar now for more. And Prabhakar, this has been a massive controversy over paper leak recently with the NEET exam as well. The CBI has arrested several people, and now the Bihar government has passed this bill against an anti-paper leak bill.
Yeah, very important indeed, because remember, for last 1 decade or so, whenever there has been a paper leak across the country, somehow unfortunately a gang, it has always been zeroed down to Bihar, and usually the gang operating out of Bihar has been found involved into it, and that was the case with the NEET paper leak scam as well, which the CBI is investigating. So now this bill has been passed today. It was tabled in the State Assembly during the monsoon session, and this bill has been passed, though the opposition staged or walked out, but it was through a voice vote that this bill has been passed, and now it's just a matter of formalities. Within 2 to 3 days there will be a notification, after which this bill will come in effect. Now, what are the USPs of this bill? Why it is important? It is important because it has some stringent measures to actually implement and ensure that those who are involved in the trampling of the examination process, they are brought to book. Now, the imprisonment provision inside this bill is of around 10 years. So whosoever is found involved in tampering with the examination process, they will be sent behind bars for 10 years. Securing bail in this particular new law would not be easy for those who are arrested by the law enforcing authorities. There is a penalty, there is a financial penalty as well, up to 1 crore rupees, depending on the kind of involvement they have. And it also has a provision of confiscating the properties of those accused. So very important that the government believes that would work as a deterrent deterrent for those who are or organized gangs, especially who are involved in the process of tampering the examination process across the country. And remember, during this time also, the Supreme Court also observed that though it has not cancelled the NEET examination, but it did observe that there was a tampering, local tampering, which happened in the states of Bihar and Jharkhand. And the gang involved is certainly is the Bihar-based gang.
All right, Prabhakar, thanks so much for joining us with all those details. So, Bihar passing an anti-paper leak bill in the Assembly, the opposition staging a walkout. Now, news from Parliament, where India bloc leaders today protested inside and outside Parliament against what they describe as discrimination against opposition-ruled states in the recently unveiled union budget. In the finance minister's budget speech, the finance minister hit back, saying that this was an outrageous charge being made by the opposition. She also said that all states cannot be named in the budget. And in Rajya Sabha, we saw, in fact, in Parliament, we saw former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram hitting out over the jobs issue against the government, and also hitting out over inflation being faced by everyone across the country.
Unemployment is the biggest challenge. The Center for Monitoring Indian Economy has estimated all India unemployment rate in June 2024 as 9.2%. It may have come down. Now, earlier this, and I suspect the reason was that the production-linked incentive scheme did not create the kind of jobs that you wanted to create. WPI inflation is 3.4%. CPI inflation is 5.1%. Food inflation is 9.4%.
Shame.
This is data collected where you can collect data, mostly along towns and villages abutting the national highway, at best the state highway, at best the district highway. But go into the hinterland of India. Go into the KBK districts of Odisha. Go into the interiors of Dharmapuri or Ramanatapura. The inflation is much higher. The Honorable Finance Minister said, I have given relief. Who has she given relief to? I don't grudge the relief. She has given relief. You have given relief to people who moved to the new tax regime. The new tax regime, I've seen various calculations. Each paper has got a calculation. I have a chartered accountant who's given me a calculation from Gujarat, and he is very knowledgeable. He says that the relief given is between 9,651 rupees to 17,651 rupees. To whom? To this 2 to 3 crore people. I have 5 demands. First demand, we demand that a minimum wage of 400 rupees per day for every kind of employment. 2, we demand a legally guaranteed MSP. 3, we demand a write-off of the unpaid balance of interest or installment of educational loans given up to March 2024. 4, we demand the abolition, complete abolition of the Agnipath Agniveer scheme. And 5, we demand that NEET be scrapped, and if some states want to keep NEET, exempt all other states which don't want NEET.
All right, the former finance minister there stating demands by the opposition, by the Congress party. Let's go across to Vasudha now for more. And Vasudha, the opposition has been targeting the government over the union budget and talk of favoritism, but P. Chidambaram there bringing up a host of issues and demands by the opposition.
Absolutely, Gargi, and a couple of very important points raised by P. Chidambaram, former finance minister, and the importance of his speech is reflected in the fact that, when he entered to speak the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman also, came all the way to Rajya Sabha, and then, she sat through his speech, and we can expect her counter to also be focused on a lot of what the former Finance Minister said. He pointed out to a couple of things. One is, of course, he said the ELI, which is the employment-linked scheme, which was announced by Finance Minister yesterday in the budget. He said that, he's not convinced by the way it has been formulated. And he also said that, this has come into force because the production-linked schemes of the government have not been able to create the necessary jobs that the government wanted. He also basically reminded the finance minister that India is a federal structure, and it's important that all states get a place, or get a place of their glory in the budget, or at least there should have been some reflection of their aspirations. He said that, in fact, he pointed out to this fact that Nirmala Sitharaman did not actually talk about the poets from Tamil Nadu, or for that matter any other state. He said that she has actually done a schooling in Tamil Nadu, and Tamil Nadu actually did not make a mention, did not basically find a mention in the budget at all. He also basically said that she dismissed the idea, the issue of inflation in just 10 words. And that is not, that also shows, he said that the government is not very serious about inflation. And he said that the bank rate of RBI needs to also be, revised if really the government is convinced that actually food inflation is not that big an issue. And he said that backward regions of the country, be it Dharmapuri in Tamil Nadu, or for that matter, regions of Odisha, actually face food inflation there's worsening food prices in such places, and that the government should be aware of that. He, of course, ended his speech by talking about the 5 demands that the Congress party has. And remember, Raji, these are the 5 demands that have been reiterated in the Congress manifesto as well, which of course talks about Banega workers getting their dues, scrapping of Agniveer, and of course, other things such as legal guarantee on MSP. Coincidentally, today, Rahul Gandhi also met farmers, and he has, in fact, Congress MPs also came forward to say that if there is a need for legal guarantee on MSP, they will work towards creating a private member's bill also. Now, Abhishek Banerjee, the TMC General Secretary, is speaking. So clearly, all heads of opposition parties have focused on making this budget look like a complete political budget, because Abhishek Banerjee is also talking about how this budget was completely, a political coalition means there needs to be coordination, but this budget showed that the government was only interested in appeasing their allies, something that, that the BJP has always faulted the opposition on.
All right, Vasudha, thanks so much for joining us with all those details of what went on in Parliament, and Chidambaram raising the point about MSP guarantee for farmers. In fact, today, a delegation of farm leaders from Punjab, Haryana, UP, Telangana, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka met with leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, in the Parliament House complex. Initially, they weren't allowed to enter, but finally security did let them enter. They met him and apprised him of all the challenges and issues being faced by them. The Congress has said that Rahul Gandhi will be the voice of the farmers in Parliament.
Well, joining with me is Congress MP Raja Waring. किसानों के साथ पूरी तरीके से साथ में हैं. जो दिल्ली कूच की बात चल रही थी, क्या उस पर भी कुछ बात बनी है? सपोर्ट कर रहा है इंडिया ब्लॉक पूरा?
100% यार, this is a fundamental right. If anybody wants to come here and do some dharna pradarsan, why they are stopping them? Delhi is not belong to BJP. Delhi is not belong to some particular caste or some particular party. That this is a Rajdhani, this is a capital. लाल किले पे झंडा इसलिए लहराता है क्योंकि पंजाब से सब ज्यादा लोगों का योगदान वो लाल किले पे.
So lastly, will Rahul Gandhi also raise this inside the Parliament House as well?
100%, why not? And Rahul Gandhi always raises these kind of issues, this Kisan issues very well, and definitely we will.
The private bill?
Yes.
Well, that was Raja Waring, Congress MP, who was also inside the meeting when Rahul Gandhi was meeting a 12-member delegation of the farmers who met inside the Parliament. This is Ashwarajan for NDTV in Delhi.
Meanwhile, YSRCP leader Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy is in Delhi, where he's protesting at Jantar Mantar. He's alleging that the law and order in Andhra Pradesh has deteriorated. Jagan travelled to Delhi yesterday and claims that since the coalition government came to power in Andhra Pradesh, YSRCP leaders have been targeted with attacks and murders as well. Now, several opposition leaders also met with Jagan Reddy, and here you can see Samajwadi Party chief Akhilesh Yadav with Jagan Reddy at the protest site. With that, time for us to slip into a short break. More news on the other side, including an interview with Gajendra Singh Shekhawat. Stay with us.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Get ready for the ride of your life. NDTV brings you the NDTV Auto Show with me, Mugdha Mishra. From the fastest supercars to the sleekest new energy vehicles to your trusted daily ride, we cover it all. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7. Your next great escape starts here.
The biggest democratic exercise in the world. Team NDTV covers it from ground zero.
BJP really had to fight a tough election this time.
Unprecedented exercise. Unmatched coverage.
There is no dispute. जनता को decide करना है.
From polling to counting, NDTV brought you the most trustworthy news and updates. Elections mean NDTV.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read.
Welcome back. A big face-off over the budget in Parliament. The opposition is targeting the government over what they allege is favoritism shown to alliance partners in the union budget that was announced yesterday. In the budget, there were also announcements on development of tourism corridors in Bihar, also promoting Odisha as a tourism destination. We spoke to Union Tourism Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat. Sir, the opposition has accused the government of discrimination in the budget, some even going as far as calling it Sarkar Bachao budget.
देखिए 1 घंटा 20 मिनट में अगर वित्त मंत्री 48 लाख करोड़ रुपए के बजट के बारे में, आमदनी और खर्चे के बारे में चर्चा करे, वो हर एक प्रदेश के हर एक विषय की चर्चा करे, ये कोई आवश्यक नहीं है। लेकिन देश में बजट में जितनी स्कीम्स अनाउंस हुई, वो चाहे महिलाओं के लिए है, चाहे किसानों के लिए है, चाहे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए है, चाहे युवाओं के लिए है, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के लिए है, MSME के लिए है, एक्सपोर्ट्स के लिए इंसेंटिव है, ये सारी की सारी योजनाएं देश के हर एक प्रदेश में लागू है। हर प्रदेश के लिए जो है उस योजना में कहीं ना कहीं हिस्सा होगा। 12 इंडस्ट्रियल पार्क में से जो है बिहार और आंध्र प्रदेश में तो केवल एक ही है। महाराष्ट्र में बहुत बड़ा पार्क है। राजस्थान में मेरे लोकसभा क्षेत्र में